Great Monday morning, everybody. How you going? Hope you're doing well. Welcome back. It's your new midday hang. It's Andy and Elsten here with you on San Diego's number one sports station. San Diego's number one sports station is 97.3 The Fan. I'm Craig Elsten, Annie Halbrun's right there, Braden Soprenitz over there. We are together in our Odyssey studios overlooking Murphy Canyon, ready to bring you 4 hours of live local San Diego sports talk radio on audio, on video, on YouTube. We got it all going on. We don't quite have the video going on.
Quite have it all going on.
Some of it's coming together. Hi, Annie.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello, Craig. Hello, Braden. Hello, everyone listening. Happy Monday. It is a Monday.
It feels like it right now.
It feels like a Monday. And we're all getting going.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, we come together like, I think, a fast food shift. Like, we just, the minute arrives, and we all just kind of arrive within the room. Like, okay, yes. Let's start flipping burgers, guys.
Let's go.
Let's get her done. Unbelievable. All right. Let's ease into it. Let's step into the shallow end of the pool. What'd you do all weekend?
Oh, I always think I should think about this before you ask me because the weekend now feels so far away. I went to Padres games.
All of them?
No, I did not go to all of them. No. I'm emceeing an event on Wednesday, this Game Changers Gala at the Fairmont Del Mar. Brian Dutcher's getting an award. Mark Loretta, excited to see you. So I had to do some prep for that, essentially. And so I did some of that. And then, saw some friends Saturday night and pretty chill weekend. Nothing too crazy.
All right, cool. Good stuff. Outstanding. Yeah, pretty chill for me as well. I did not go to any Padres games. I did pay attention to them along the way. Golfed Saturday morning, golfed yesterday afternoon. In-laws are in town this week because James is now an 8th grader. But are you really? I guess you are. When you graduate from 7th grade, that makes you an 8th grader. But 8th grade doesn't start until September. So you're an in-betweener.
That's like when players are, you have to say they're in their 10th season because they haven't officially started their 11th season. They're going into their 11th season.
He's going into 8th grade.
Going into 8th grade.
He's going into being a teenager in 2 weeks and a day. He'll be 13 and he'll be a teenager.
That's exciting. Is he excited?
I mean, were you excited to turn 13?
Of course.
Like maybe for a minute, and then everything that involves being 13 and being a middle schooler, This is that time.
Yeah,
puberty.
These are rough years, right?
Yeah. 13-year-old boy. That's not the now. 13-year-old girl. I think that's because girls mature just a little bit faster at that age. I think that's a little bit more of the sweet spot. 16, maybe the tables turn a little bit. I don't know, but He's turning 13. That just means misery for the parents. That's what it means. It means for the parents, challenge and misery. But we will find our way. We'll find our way through it. Braden, how about you? What are you up to, mate? Passing clinics all weekend?
Not yet. That starts next week. But
okay.
San Diego State did have their first weekend of tournaments this weekend. So that was. I'll have the full update on the 12 o'clock sports fix. But this is the last week where I don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. for the next 6 weeks, which is great. Like I said before to you guys off air, when I was doing it as a player, the 6 a.m. workouts, it was like, this is miserable. And the seniors came back, or the class in front of me came back and was like, oh, you're going to miss it one day. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And then I went to college, and I never missed it one time. And I came back from college and started coaching, and I was like, I really don't miss getting up this early to go to workouts. But I will say this. As much as it sucks to wake up in the morning, to be done with your workouts at 9 in the morning or 8:30, whatever it may be. I mean, obviously with the show, it's a little bit different, because I will be here next week. But, from speaking of teenager perspective, the teenagers complain about getting up at 6 a.m., but there's other schools that work out at 3. So if you were a teenager in high school, wouldn't you rather be done with your workouts at 9? And have the rest of the day to do whatever you want during the summertime instead of in the middle of the beach day when all your friends are at the beach or do other things, right? So I don't mind the 6 a.m. I have a bunch of stuff I could do later in the day. Obviously the show, some other things. We have passing league days that we'll start doing on Tuesdays and Thursdays at random schools throughout San Diego County. But I will say, getting up in the morning is not ideal. Because now when the Padres decide to stay up super late and play late games, I'm going to have to be tuned to that and then be like, I have to wake up in like 6 hours.
Right.
So that's pretty fun. But no, that hasn't started yet. I went to a couple of games, saw Annie on Thursday, went to the game again on Friday. By the way, Matt, who sucks at Petco Park, is now 3-0 in the last 3 games. What have you done for me lately?
He's turned it around.
Guys on
Yeah.
a roll right now. So hopefully you can go to some more games. We went to the game on Friday, had a really good time. I went to an event on Saturday at the Town and Country. It was my friend graduated from pharmacy school as a doctor. It was like a wedding graduation ceremony. Most bizarre thing I've ever been to. It was fun, but it was like she had like a dance on the way into the graduation ceremony at a ballroom. She had a dance with her dad. She had a speech.
What?
Her dad had a speech. They had a DJ. It was like I should have known I was in for something nuts when like I got the invite. It was like, would you
You ever
rather
heard
have
of
the
that?
braised short rib or the vegetarian? I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm picking a meal here.
Great.
She didn't want to
Father-daughter
have
dance?
Yeah,
Was it a
just
wedding and you messed up?
She's
Like-
married to the game, I guess. I know. I don't know.
Married to her education.
I didn't want to come on and make fun of it, but at the same time, she didn't really want it. Her parents kind of put it on for her. It was a little elaborate. She was like, I just want to go to dinner. No, you have to have a party for you. We can have a barbecue. No, we're doing this elaborate function. You walk up, there's like a table assignment at the front like it's a wedding, and I'm like, dude, I swear to God, I'm in the wrong spot. But that's a picture of her, so that's has to be this place. It was wild.
Wait, she
It was
graduated from college or high school?
college. It was like a doctorate.
Okay.
She didn't get to do a 2020.
Been really proud of her.
Right? Like, I
okay,
was
you
like,
know what? Now
I
that
mean,
you
the
said
dance
that,
is kind of a little strange, but the rest of it,
she
I'm
was
like, you know what? Her
2020
parents are
college,
probably really happy.
but it was a doctorate for farmers. She didn't want it. That was the thing. She didn't want it. Me and my buddy went. We got invited, and we had a good time. It was fun. But at the same time, I was sitting there going, "What is happening?"
I
What
was
is
so
happening?
deeply confused at the beginning of the story. Now that she's telling me that she is a doctorate, how
Smarter than any
much
of us.
money did her parents pay to get her that doctorate? I mean, she did all the hard work, but there's a
Right.
lot of cash involved. I kind of feel like they're saying if we spent that much, this celebration's
You're
for
gonna
us.
dance,
Like
right?
exactly.
That's basically
You're
what she
gonna
said.
dance. We're gonna serve rubber chicken. We're gonna do the
invite
whole thing.
All our friends, and we're gonna.
Yeah, it was something
Have a
else.
good time.
You know, it was
Yeah,
something
champagne
else.
problems.
She it's a Chaldean family, so they had some Chaldean traditions.
There you go.
I had another Chaldean friend in high school, so I understand. You know, they like to party.
They like
the
to party,
Chaldeans
yeah.
love to party, and so she
And celebrate.
had this elaborate party with some traditional Chaldean things. So that was really cool to be a part of that culture and everything. But it was, the entire time I had to keep looking around, going, "Am I at a wedding or am I at a graduation?"
Now I can't wait for her wedding.
That's what I said. I said,
you better get an invite to that.
I said, when you get married, this thing's gonna be like that. What are you gonna rent out Disneyland for this entire event?
Yeah, like when I went through my college graduation, we just went to lunch.
That's what you know what? That's what I went to a nice dinner,
you got
maybe.
like a pound in the back. Hey, good job, man.
My brother graduated college. We might have a barbecue with some friends, but you know what? She didn't want any of that. Her parents made her do it. She was like, "It's for all of us, whatever." And she was like, "Barbecue's fine. Barbecue
It's
in
a
the
good
backyard's
story.
fine."
That's wild.
It was an event. An event is basically what I said. And the other thing too, we were like, "What do we wear to this thing?" Because when you asked for what you would like to have at the meal at the ceremony, braised short rib or the vegetarian, you know you're in for something a little bit different than a graduation.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what? Wear something like kind of business, but like be comfortable. And so I was nice Lululemon long sleeves, some nice Lululemon pants. Kind of fit the. I could broadcast in this. I feel like that's everybody's wearing suits. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? Except for like the kids.
Yeah.
The young people were not wearing suits. They got the instructions from our friend Arby. But it was a major event for a
I've
graduation.
never heard of that in my life.
It was a pharmaceutical degree too, so they had like tables that looked like pill bottles and stuff like that.
Oh my God.
They had like the desserts came in little like
Everybody
shot
pick something from the
glasses, but
bowl.
it had like drug names on the side.
Pfizer presents
I was like,
graduation.
How is your Mucinex dessert shot? Because my Aleve was pretty good. It was pretty funny. I mean, a lot of the stuff was funny, but I had a good time.
That was one
it
step
was
too far right there.
An event.
I was off at the start. I came back on, and now I'm back off.
Everybody's drinking from like pill bottles.
That's literally what it
exactly.
was. I mean, the decorations were kind of funny.
This is
Like
So, yes,
your
Craig,
seating
that's-
arrangement should have been like on a script pad, like a prescription.
But you can't read it though, because doctors
Right.
and
Now I'm
pharmacists
just-
can't write.
I'm just
But
enjoying
Craig,
this.
that's what I did this weekend.
yeah. Wow.
Isn't that a
Wow.
wild time, huh?
Pill bottle shots and
Oh man,
Aleve desserts.
could not.
Father-daughter graduation dance.
They both gave a speech.
This is
Hey,
surreal.
I was
good
like,
for them though.
you
They
know
have
what?
the
Yeah.
memory. They get to celebrate together. That's great.
I think she was embarrassed half the time, but you know what? It was pretty funny, and I just the
Speech
entire
by the note taker of honor, the person who helped her with her final study.
I had to keep sitting there and just be like, this is not a wedding. This is not a wedding. Married to the game. Married to her career. Married to
Oh, wait.
pharmaceutical companies.
Funnier wordplay would be aide of honor instead of maid of honor.
That's
Aid.
right.
your
Aid.
student
right.
aide of honor. Here's my aide of honor. She helped me so much.
Oh man, yeah, that
I was going to fail that test.
It was great though. I checked the score. Padres were up like 13-1 at that point, so it's a good night.
Yeah, Saturday. That's a big game.
Saturday, good. Oh, you know what? Padres did something great for us this weekend, and we're going to get into it all, of course. There it is. You know, three of us literally hadn't seen each other. The mics turn on, so we just all caught up. Hope you enjoyed our chitter chat. We could have done that outside, but we did it right here.
We would have missed Braden's story.
Right. So we did it here, and it's much better as a result.
You asked what I did this weekend. And you
No,
know what? I couldn't pass up a time
have
on
to.
that. That was.
Are you kidding me? I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled.
I
with
left a
the
voice
direction of the
message
show.
to my buddies that was a little bit more elaborate on what that was, but it was an event for sure.
Well, one thing I really did appreciate about the Padres this weekend is that they took all the white knuckle out of the weekend. They took all the drama out of it. They won comfortably. I guess Friday had a little bit of back and forth
Early on.
Yeah, but 5-0 to 5-3. Wandy Peralta just giving us a little scare in there,
Yeah.
but otherwise, honestly, it was a very straightforward weekend. Convincing win, dominant blowout win, dominant blowout loss. So
Yeah.
your mind checks out very early on. The decision is done. We're not here fretting over one play or one decision or one runner sent or not sent because you're winning by 12 and then you're losing by 6. And okay, we're comfortable.
Split the series, and in the end, kind of look exactly almost like everything looked on Friday when we left.
Yep.
Just a few more games played.
Yep.
Which is good and not good for the NL West, but good for the Padres. Look, they're in the lead right now. They by just a little bit, but they're still holding court or holding serve or holding whatever the phrase is that you
Holding
guys,
on for dear life.
on, yeah.
Holding on.
Another chance here up against the A's, which I'm sure we'll get to and we'll talk about, and that's not going to be a team that just rolls over either. But yeah, they were that one on Saturday just completely. 13, I think it ended 13-1, right? Do I have that
Yep,
right?
yep.
Yeah, I mean, that one was just complete blowout. Friday night, exactly, kind of stayed a little bit close there until the middle innings. And then they had that I think there was a 5-run eighth or something close to that. They got ahead by quite a bit. And Sunday, right, I mean, Adam Major let up quite a few runs early and that was kind of that. And you felt like the Padres could come back, but then, it just obviously wasn't in the cards.
Yeah. I mean, at 7-1, if you turned it off, you missed nothing. You missed
Yeah.
nothing. You wound up missing 2 runs on each side. So those type of games happen. They come along. The Padres had played an inordinate number of close, excruciating games for the last couple of weeks. Then they went on a 5-game stretch of losing 5 straight games. Just like that, everyone right there in your grasp, everyone, an excruciating loss. So, it was very comfortable to have blowout win, blowout loss, turn your mind off, just continue along Padres baseball. And turning my mind off, Annie, is something that, I need to work on a daily basis anyway, but
I feel like I live in that world.
I'm starting to really get there with this club. I'm starting to get to the point of my official motto being both baseball is stupid and no one should watch, and then joined by LOL, nothing matters. And that's kind of where, because every time, how do you get a handle on this team? There's no handle. There's no handle to be given.
You have to just sort of accept that at this point, every series could be different. You go into every series and you're like, what are we getting this series, or what are we getting this game? Like you don't ever quite feel like it is Eminem. Everybody from our generation of, well, the real San Diego Padres, please stand up. We are in that realm.
If the Padres had the swag like Slim Shady, though, I think that'd be pretty fun.
Man, he was at he had his daughter's wedding, I think. And
was it a wedding or is it a graduation?
Yeah, it's a great question.
It's a good question. A few weeks ago, and he just looks the same. Like he just looks like
guy never aged.
Yeah. And anyways, so that's a little diversion there. But yeah, you look, you were happy for them to get some wins, get back on the winning side of things, to have some blowout wins where it was like a laugher on Saturday and everybody's in on the hits and the runs and everyone's feeling good and confident. You get some of that mojo back, some of that swag back. You love the fact that they were able to win at home and on a Friday night in your City Connects and at home on a night game. And
that's true.
City Connects.
Box tick, tick, tick.
Too bad a lefty didn't throw.
Right.
Could have checked off another one.
Yeah. And then there were some really good highlights I'm sure we'll get into. Fernando Tatis Jr., Matt Waldron, Kyle Higashioka. You're like, hey, let's go. Like this is especially with Fernando right now. I mean, he's just been on an absolute tear, and it's been fun to watch. So some good things coming out of it, but at the end, it's really similar to when we were talking last week on Friday.
That's it. It
kind
really
of in the
is.
same spot.
Yeah, they are. And they're also, not for nothing, in the exact same spot they were 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And not for nothing, they're in the same spot they were a month ago or 2 weeks ago or at any other point in the season, which is they're in the middle. They're in a gigantic pack. The NL has not distinguished itself yet, and neither have the Padres. They're just there in a group with literally 9 teams. 9 of the 15 teams in the league are all within a pack of a game to a game and a half within one another, which means nothing. It means nothing. There's like everything is yet to be determined.
Exactly.
That's it.
That's absolutely it. The whole road is in front for any team right now. There's 4 teams in the National League that are above 500. And everybody else is sort of just kind of circling the same area where someone eventually, you're going to have the ones that drop off and get 6, 7, 8 games below, and then the ones that pull away. And then even then, Craig, you're going to have 2 weeks that could change. You could have, one team could go on a run right now for 7 or 8 games, and the way that this grouping is playing right now could completely change.
Correct.
In a month or 2 months' time, So I think it really is going to, it's really up for the taking for anybody.
Let's get into it when we come back because, again, there's, as always, with our beloved Padres, there is a giant mixed bag that we can pour out on the table and sort into various buckets. And we've got plenty of things to discuss from all the games that came over the weekend, from the very, very good to the things that are still questionable. But when we come back, I want to focus on what we just talked about, which is where we are in the standings and in the group. I think there's perspective that all Padre fans would do well to keep front of mind, and we will get to that when we return. We are underway. Ship is just pulled out from harbor, and we are cruising until 2 o'clock with you. Your new midday hang, Annie and Elsten on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. You ain't kidding, man. 10:25. Welcome back. Annie and Elsten here with you on The Fan. Excited not only for this show, but for this week of shows. It's just so great to be with you. This is my favorite time of the year. And right now, the gloom is out. Yesterday, it was just wide open. By 9, it's pretty much bright, sunny sky, gorgeous. But this is it. This is what we pay the property taxes for. This is what all of the investment that we make in ourselves to live in the city of San Diego. It's for these months. It's for it being bright before 6 and to almost 8 p.m. at night.
Oh, yeah.
It's for the cool weather in the morning that graduates into a perfectly mild afternoon, for the bright, high blue skies. You know, this is it. This is why we live here. I love the summer.
I feel like what is the council for,
Oh, yeah.
I feel like you just did like a Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce. That's what
it.
it is. The
You
Chamber
just did
of
a
Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce. That was not a read. That was
No.
just your love for the city.
I love
Yes.
San Diego. I love summer. Love being here, talking with y'all, talking Padres baseball. They've given us something at least. They've given us an ever-changing, unsolvable Rubik's Cube. Every single day, we just show up and the pattern's different. There's purples and yellows and whites and oranges everywhere. And you're just, oh, we think we got it solved. Ha ha, new cube. New day, new series, new cube. Never mind. You can never understand anything about this team.
It's they're a bit of an enigma, especially right now. I think you just don't know, right? Like you just don't know what the series is going to hold. You see a team on paper and you're like, they got this. This is nothing. We're going to sit back. Or conversely, they go somewhere and you're like, oh, this is going to be a really hard team to beat. This team's playing so well. They've won 11 of their past 12s, and they're tops in this category and that category. And then they smoke those teams. And then the ones on paper that you're like, this is going to be easy sweep here, or, at least a series win, doesn't always go that way, as we've seen this season. So it is a mixed bag. It is like it's like you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend and they have a different mood a lot. You just don't know which mood you're getting.
Yes, that's a fair way to put it. Mercurial, unreadable. Was that a cold shoulder at coffee? Yeah, what's going on today?
Right.
Then you start overthinking. Now we're
Right.
the overthinkers.
Now
We're the fans of the
you're
Padres.
trying to dissect
100%.
every little thing. You're like, what did this mean? What did that mean? Oh, God.
100% true. Okay, this is the thing that's just been kind of feels like a piece of gristle stuck between your teeth. That's been stuck between my teeth for the last 72, 96 hours. And it's not. I'm not trying to be like hater or negative about this, but I find one of the crutches that we're leaning on as San Diego media and as Padres fans, as writ large, to be ridiculous, which is to say that the Padres are in a playoff position right now. Like, well, hey, we're in the second wild card. As if there's any meaning to that statement whatsoever. And I put this up on Twitter yesterday afternoon and got some of the common responses back, like, well, are we in a playoff position or aren't we, smart guy? Like, there's no playoffs today.
If the season ended today.
Which it doesn't.
I hate that.
Which it doesn't. So the if is doing all the work in the sentence. The sentence should just say if, because the rest of it is completely meaningless. This is the equivalent of being somewhere between the 10th and 11th mile of a marathon. And looking at that pack of runners, looking at that giant pack of arms and legs going down the road, and looking in the pack and looking at a runner in that pack and going, well, look, that one's in medal position. In medal position, they have to take one step and 60 people will pass them. They're not in medal position. They're in a pack.
And you have still, I don't do the math, but you still have, 11, 10, 12 miles to go, which a lot can happen on those, for better or for worse. There's a lot that can happen on that next leg of miles.
So this is where the Padres really are. Okay, this is where they are. They're 34 and 35. That's where they are. They're a game under 500. I have a personal rule. You all in the audience, you all in the room, don't have to accept my personal rule. This is for me. But for me, I don't think playoffs, talk playoffs, consider playoffs until my team's over 500.
So that is my rule usually. Like last year, No talking playoffs, no touching playoffs, no even entering the playoffs conversation until the team is over 500. That is a rule that I have always subscribed to too, as well. However, I started thinking about this. We talked about it a little bit on the roundtable last week. Could this be the year where a losing record gets you into the playoffs? I don't know.
I mean, that's how it looks now.
But there's a long way to go.
But that's the thing.
And it's separation season after the All-Star break. Teams will separate.
Bingo. So when you are in a group like this, I think it's fair to look at the actual race course, so to speak, for the marathon. Okay, the Padres have a gap of 4 games between themselves and the next runner in front of them. They can see that Atlanta Braves kit running in front of them, and they're 4 games ahead. The Braves are 4 games ahead of the Padres. That's a real distance that you can think about. You can ignore the Dodgers. The Dodgers are 15 games over 500, and they'll wind up 30 games over 500, and the Padres won't get there. So you don't have to worry about them. However, who's around you now in our marathon analogy, right? You can see the Braves. They're in front of you. They're 4 games in front of you. The Cubs are a half game behind you, along with the Reds, along with the Giants, and along with the Cardinals.
They're half game.
4 teams that are 1 half game behind San Diego. So the Padres are in 5th, but if they lose and 4 teams win tonight, they will be in 9th. Just like that.
And literally that could flip-flop 3 times by the end of this week. You know what I mean? Like it could flip flop every night for all we know.
Because the Pirates are a half game behind those 4 teams. And the Diamondbacks are a half game behind the Pirates. And the Nationals are a half game behind the Diamondbacks. And the Mets are 1.5 games behind the Nationals. So the Padres see that one runner in front of them 4 games ahead. If they look behind them, 3.5 games behind them is the 13th place New York Mets, a team that they will face this weekend.
What's wild about it is that the Mets, for as bad as they've been, they've had some really rough patches this season. They're 3 games back of a wild card spot, right? Do I have that right?
Yeah.
They're
3 games out of the tie for the 6th place, which is a 4-team tie.
There you go. So 3 games. Thank you. 3 games back. I'm repeating it for myself. 3 games back from the tie for the last wild card spot, which all the other teams are bunched up around mainly. But I'm just saying, like the Mets, for all their kind of free falling, they're not that far out of it, and that's also illustrative of the fact that the other teams haven't taken a big lead either. They're all just kind of circling this spot. I mean, 3 games back or even 1 game back, I was watching the Diamondbacks and honestly before Sunday's game, it was like, I don't know if they're going to, I feel like I've given some benefit of the doubt to the Diamondbacks, but they just, their pitchers are so hurt everywhere. Another team, their bullpen, their starting staff, their offense is not as consistent as they would hope. Corbin Carroll not having the season that he once had.
Decent series though. He had a pretty good series.
Decent series. So that's the thing. And then you're watching it and you're going, okay, but they split the series. They're hanging around. They are going to get some guys back, and they're another team that you look at last year that they were left for dead after the All-Star break, and they were able to make a comeback. And I think that's why it's so dangerous to look at, I mean, obviously we're looking at it. We're a daily show. That's what we do. But it's dangerous to make any sweeping conclusions based on this, for sure.
Chiloa in the chat asks a really good question. If we were just to look at this group of teams, the Cubs, Reds, because believe it or not, remember when the Reds were dead? Well, they won 8 out of 10. They're right back there. They're in a playoff spot.
You could do that?
Yeah, you can win at it.
You can win 8 games.
Wait,
you could
who?
go
The
7-game
Reds?
winning streak.
The Reds.
You could sweep teams.
The Reds.
Okay.
Yeah, they lost yesterday. They'd won 8 out of 9 before that.
8-game winning streak.
Yeah, who knew,
All
right?
Yeah, I didn't know that was possible.
So the Cubs, the Reds, the Giants, the Cardinals, the Pirates, the Diamondbacks, the Nationals, the Mets, the 8 teams that are in this chase pack, all running behind that guy with the Atlanta Braves bib on. Of those teams, do any of them, or which one the most, do you think is a team that could separate from the pack, that could actually be a team that gets out in front of you if you continue to muddle along here at 500? For me, there's a couple of teams. The Cubs stand out.
To me too. Yeah.
I still think they're better than they've played.
They have the best pitching staff out of the group of names you just listed off.
I agree. The Pirates have that great young pitching.
Got Skeens.
They got Skeens with Jones. They got two guys throwing 101.
Pitch counts.
It'll eventually catch up to them. I agree with you.
I don't know if they can sustain it.
I agree with you.
Not sustainable.
The Cardinals are just sitting there. They're just sitting there. 2 games under, but they're not one that you can completely ignore.
They'll never go away.
That's it. It's hard to toss out the Cardinals and the Diamondbacks because, well, especially last year for the Diamondbacks, they've been there before. They know how to get out of it. And the Cardinals, same thing. Like, that's a winning organization most of the time. They've had some yuck years here lately, but you can't completely take them out of it.
And you know what? Of all of those teams, there's only one that has a positive run differential now. I know we all got traumatized by run differential last year, but there's only one with a positive run differential, and that is the Reds.
Yeah.
The Reds are plus 15. Everyone else is somewhere between minus 14 and minus 40 on the year, but the Reds are actually a team that's outscored their opposition. So I guess, I look at this. Here's my bottom line. I look at this. I don't see one team in that group of 9 that I don't think the Padres could beat in a playoff series, that I don't think they could be potentially better than. However, the Padres, for all the good things they've done, are right here one bad week from falling behind every one of these teams. So it's, again, that mixed bag. Like, I guess the biggest point I just wanted to make to Padres fans and thus to the organization is, like, you can't look at we're in the second playoff position. That doesn't mean anything. You're in a group of 9 teams within 3 games of one another. That means that you are in a race. You are like, if you don't keep pace, you fall behind. So that's where the Padres are right now. They're in the middle of a marathon in a chase pack where if you don't keep pace, you're going to fall behind.
Yeah, and I'm sure, like, the organization, I'm assuming that they do know that, or that they're looking at, like, obviously they know the season does not end today, and you've got to still be able to take the lead and hold on to it and not get too far behind, which is really your point there, right? You know what's crazy too is I look at the teams that are behind them, and it's like, maybe I look at that and maybe I'm just, uncanny Annie right now, but it's like on paper, at least, or when you see the Padres team clicking, when you see them put together a complete game and the pitching is there and the hitting is there and the defense is there, none of these teams scare you. None of these teams scare you.
I agree.
But that's the problem with that thinking is that's what it was last year too. There was a big if. Now we've seen the Padres put it together more this season, which is great. But there's like you said, like there's you can't ever get comfortable in this spot. You can't ever get comfortable with this bunching, even if you took a couple of games lead ahead. Right. 1 week changes all that. Yeah,
and so just to button it and go to break, if that week happened, the wrong week, I would say to the doomsayers, the visitors of Doomerville, the Padre fans who have looked at everything as half empty the whole year, because they are all going to come out of the woodwork at that point and go, yeah, you're a 4th place team. You're in 11th in the NL. What the bleep are you talking about that your team is good or bad? And I would tell you next week that statement would be equally as meaningless as to say this week, well, we're in the second wild card position. So we're good. We're good. We're in the second wild card position.
You might want to just go on a vacation and peek at your phone from a beach drinking a Mai Tai in September, honestly. I mean, it could really get to that point where none of this, I mean, obviously it all matters, but it's still kind of that same bunching now, like we just talked about. Teams will separate all the time. Teams will fall really, really far behind. But when you're like this, and especially with that extra wild card spot now, I don't think you can ever get all too comfortable because, like I said, the Diamondbacks were left for dead last year. They looked like there was no way they were going to come back.
Yeah.
And they were able to. Or we've seen obviously with the Cardinals with Mike Schiltz and got on that 17-game winning streak in September and able to get in. And there's all these stories. There's always all these stories. But you've got to try to take care of business. And for the Padres, it really means not dipping below as much as they can and being able to fight. I mean, you're going to have to be able to get out of some of the adversity when it hits you because this is going to it should be competitive here for at least a little while.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we do it every Monday. Chance to pick the minds of everyone's disparate thoughts about the weekend that was in a fun segment we call What's Good? Bring you the good from the weekend and come back with more Annie and Elsten right after this quick timeout. Stay there, friends. You're listening to San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Air Max, San Diego's highest-rated heating and air company. Visit them at airmax.com. Looking for the best in HVAC? Choose Air Max, San Diego's highest-rated heating and air company, with free diagnostics on all repairs and estimates. See why over 1,300 happy customers have given Air Max 5-star Yelp reviews. See Air Max today at airmax.com. Breaking news. Breaking news. It just broke during the commercial break. Adrian Wojnarowski,
Of course, Woj bomb.
ESPN, drops the Woj bomb. He has been the one reporter all over the Dan Hurley UConn Lakers story. Wojnarowski reporting that Dan Hurley is going back to Storrs, Connecticut, that he has turned down what is reported to be a 6-year, $70 million contract to become the LA Lakers head coach, and instead will seek a three-peat at UConn.
LA would have made him one of the NBA's 6 highest paid coaches, but Woj says as swept away as Hurley became by the Lakers' courtship and vision, he ultimately couldn't walk away from a chance to make history to get that 3rd straight NCAA title. But even before Lakers talks, Hurley already had a UConn offer to become one of the highest paid NCAA coaches, and those talks will continue. Where do you think the money is?
Somewhere around 6 years, $70 million.
If that's the case, I don't leave either.
I wouldn't leave, period.
Why, though? Because he hasn't coached in the NBA, right?
He has not coached in the NBA.
Can that be
He'll
a
have
feather
better
in your
chance.
cap?
He'll have a better chance. There will be a better chance in his lifetime to move to the NBA than to go coach the LA Lakers, a team that, now, if I'm Dan Hurley, who has just cleaned the champagne out of my suit. Oh, my wife did.
Yeah.
Had my wife clean the champagne out of his suit.
What's he laundering?
Second straight year, laundry. Just laundering laundry.
He's
in this
just
case.
counting his bills.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
he's
no
not.
epoch times here. If you're Dan Hurley, you've just done that. You've just won consecutive NCAA championships. You have the opportunity to tie John Wooden next year, the greatest coach in history, and then make yourself in the conversation for greatest GOAT in history for doing it at a much more difficult time to win. And you could do that where literally with what he's done already, Annie.
He's revered.
Dan Hurley could also have 4 straight years where he missed the tournament. And he would still be UConn's greatest head coach. Jim Calhoun used to be there, and you'd still look at Dan Hurley and say the greatest coach that UConn's ever had. His legacy at UConn is insured forever. Meanwhile, as he's sitting there in his coach's room or sitting with his wife while his wife's pressing his shirt, thinking about it, like, the Lakers, Frank Vogel won the NBA championship as Lakers head coach in 2020. 2 years later, he was fired. Darvin Ham then took over, led the team to the Western Conference Finals his first year. They made it back to the playoffs this year, fired. Done. LeBron's 40.
Yeah.
And this is a kooky, ridiculous soap opera where Dan Hurley takes over as Lakers head coach. Then the Lakers draft LeBron's son. Then Dan Hurley becomes, literally said in the public sphere to be the caretaker of Bronny James' legacy. And you have no idea if the kid can even play in the association. And then LeBron's gone in a year or two, and you've got 4 or 5 years left on your contract. And now where are you? Now it's Anthony Davis's team. How tight are you guys? Who's the young player coming? There are none. They have no draft picks till 2029. And this is a guy who's made his coaching career out of harassing 18 to 21-year-olds. Like, he's this tough SOB who tears guys down and is super hyper intense. Like, that routine, that act, that plays in stores. That was not going to play on the sidelines of Los Angeles in the NBA. Him tearing his suit apart or, haranguing a player or any of that. Like,
Yelling at opposing fans.
Right.
It's not working in the NBA.
It's never.
Or what did he do when he brought the title along and they brought like a replica?
Yeah.
The cardboard something.
Yeah, and he'd throw the basketball at
beat
it. Yeah.
Whenever they didn't win the game, they'd beat it with the basketball.
Could you imagine him putting a cardboard Larry O'Brien cutout behind, and then LeBron misses a pass and he's like, throwing the ball at the cutout?
You sound like such a battered, because I know you're a Lakers fan.
Yeah.
Such a battered Lakers fan.
Well, that's
Yeah.
because the Lakers just got used for Dan Hurley to get a contract extension.
100%.
You see, like colleges do that against each other. You don't see
Yeah.
the Lakers.
Oh, the Lakers just got played,
They got
bro.
played.
And the Lakers
Again.
probably aren't used to, though,
Again.
people not wanting to take what they
That's
have to
not a
offer.
good job.
Right.
It's
Do you
not
remember,
a good job.
Do you guys remember this? Do you remember the Dwight Howard billboard? Do you remember that? This is my tortured Lakers fan
Okay.
coming out now, okay? There was a time, this is how much of a joke it's been. And LeBron restored order for the Lakers by LeBron coming in. I know it was a bubble. Both LA teams that won the championship won it in a bubble, you know. And so you can
Well,
look
this
at
one was hosted by Mickey Mouse, so it even
literally
fits even
by
more.
Mickey Mouse. However, I don't think anyone looks at the NBA bubble playoffs and thinks that they're a sham, like the baseball season with 60 games. I mean, they played hard in the bubble.
And the Lakers,
They were playing
and
a
the NBA
season,
had a
though.
season.
They were still
had
playing a season that year,
Right,
too.
Right.
I mean, the Padres, the MLB completely.
Not
that
to-
was unlike a season, unlike any
Right.
other,
Not
because
to-
you had way fewer games.
Not to justify it because LA, LOL. But
Right.
anyway.
No, so point being, they won a champ. But before that, in the years before that, the Lakers became the chump team, the team that other agents or players would really exploit as leverage. Like Dwight Howard, who at one point was a big deal. Admittedly, you know, maybe not as big a deal as he'd like to have thought he was, but there was a moment where he was like the number one free agent. And the Lakers literally put up billboards in LA, like, come to LA, Dwight. And then Dwight completely played them, used them to get his deal somewhere else. This is exactly what Dan Hurley, through Adrian Wojnarowski, by the way, did over the course of the last 72 hours. They created a story out of thin air, and then Hurley took a meeting for one day. When I read the story that he came in on Friday and was back on the East Coast by Saturday, I was like, okay, well, he's obviously never taking the job. And then he went through the classic, well, you know, I have to really think about do. There was nothing to think about. He was never going to Los Angeles. The Lakers just got spun and played, and they're back to now hiring a podcaster to be their head coach in a couple of weeks. I know that's unfair to JJ Redick to simply call him a podcaster,
That's where they're grabbing them from,
but it
though.
sounds fun. It sounds really fun.
Dan
to say.
Hurley,
It's a little bit different than Dan Hurley.
50-something. He's like 51 or something like that. I mean, yeah, he's got good years ahead of him, and you are going to be revered, as you talked about, whether
Forever.
or not you win or lose for these next few years anyways. You know, like, you've already taken that team to back-to-back championships, and he's got he's got a little charisma around him. He's got a little story around him. He's got like you said, all the little quirks that he has that people love to talk about. And he's got his attitude. Is he what you said there is so correct, though. Like, same with we had that story about Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers not playing music at OTAs, and that was like a college thing that he's bringing to the OTAs. Like, to me, my mind was just blown at that. Like, treating like the professionals in football, like they're not professionals, like they're college kids that need to focus on their OTAs more without music. And I know that sounds like a stupid comparison, but if you've ever been out to OTAs, like, you play music. It's just what it is, okay? And the players like it, and there's nothing wrong with it, and you got to treat them like professionals. Don't know that this is going to be obviously he's coached in the NFL before, but not an apples to apples comparison. But what you're saying there, the same things that work for college kids do not necessarily work
Nick
for
Saban had a
professionals.
tough time coaching the National Football
Yeah,
League.
8-8, and nobody liked him at all. Yeah, there's a shtick. There's a shtick where you create that God tier. The coach is a god, and that does not work in the pros. Anyway, Lakers, LOL. Dan Hurley gets the bag from UConn. Lakers listening to new podcasts, subscribing, trying to find their next head coach. That's the end of this hour. We'll kick what's good a little bit later. Padres Deep Dive next on The Fan. All right, let's talk some Padres baseball. Hour number 2 of Annie and Elsten, your new midday hang underway on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan, with Annie Halbrin and with Braden Soprenic, Craig Elsten together in our Odyssey studios overlooking Murphy Canyon, rolling into hour number 2, our multimedia operation that benefits the Odyssey Corporation. We're live on 97.3 FM. We are on the Odyssey app, streaming worldwide. We are a podcast broken up into digestible hour-long segments with the commercials taken out that you can listen to later in the day on every major podcast platform. And we are a YouTube show. If you're watching us on YouTube right now on the 97.3 The Fan webpage, we do ask that you hit the like button. Smash that like. If you haven't subscribed to the 97.3 The Fan page on YouTube, do that as well. It'll get the videos up into your algorithm, up into your main page. But however, whenever, wherever you are taking in the show visually or in audio form or in podcast form, we say thank you for being there. We appreciate it. Monday, June 10th, Padres are one game under 500. They are still in a pack of 9 teams. That grouping hovers around the playoffs. So, therefore, they are currently in a playoff position. They're also 2 games out of 11th place and 3 games out of 13th place. So, just take that for context for what it is. But there's plenty of stuff to talk about with this Padres baseball team, Annie. Plenty of good things, as usual. Good things, concerning things, everything is there in some equal measure. So I thought we could start the deep dive by talking about what now is, I think, inarguably the second biggest feel-good story of the 2024 Padres season.
I don't know where you're going with it.
Well, what's the biggest feel-good story of the 2024 Padres season?
Jurickson Profar?
It's got to be, right? It's got to be. Jurickson Profar has 2.6 F-WAR right now. He's almost matched his 2022 total.
And he's, there's been so many times this season where it's been like, well, is he going to be able to keep it up? Is he going to be able to keep it up? And he has. I mean, he's shown up in pretty much every series, every rally, every game. He figures out a way to help this team in one way or another. It's been so fun to see him playing like this. We say it on the show all the time. He was the #1 prospect when he was selected out of Curacao, and in that class, and just did not work out for him, for the Rangers. There was injuries, there was guys in front of him. Oakland did not work out for him. Padres, it worked out for him, but never like it has this year.
Never like it has this year. So he's the #1 feel-good story on this team. He could be the starting left fielder in the All-Star game.
I hope so.
I mean, you could have knocked me over with less than a feather. What weighs less than a feather? You could have knocked me over with a particle of dust on opening day, telling me if the Jurickson Profar would start for the All-Star game for the National League. It'd be like, I would have laughed in your face.
And it's not even just, he's doing well for Jurickson or he's doing well for the National League. Like, he leads baseball. He's in the top 5 categories offensively, or at least when last time I looked, like he's right around that upper echelon of players.
So that's #1. But #2 is Matt Waldron.
Matt Waldron, yeah.
Matt Waldron, who pitches another 6 innings of 1-run ball on Saturday, dominates the team that dominated him immediately before this run of incredible success. Matt Waldron, I had to look this stuff up last night. Matt Waldron has moved from being a question mark to a solid contributor to now a needed staple in the San Diego Padres rotation. Do you think that's hyperbolic? Well, let me tell you something, fans. Who leads the Padres pitching staff in Fangraphs WAR, in F-WAR? I'll tell you the answer. It's Dylan Cease. He's got 1.9 F-WAR. That rates 12th in all of Major League Baseball. Matt Waldron has generated 1.6 F-WAR this year. 1.6. He's just behind Dylan Cease. And that ranks him 27th among all Major League starters. 27th. Think about that. There's 30 teams in baseball. He ranks 27th. That means he ranks currently as one of the worst aces in Major League Baseball, as a #1. He has pitched as a #1 in Major League Baseball this year. ERA under 4, FIP of 3.25. He has like 6 innings behind Dylan Cease for the team's innings lead. No one expected this. Mama and Papa Waldron couldn't have dreamed in their most excited dream that Matt Waldron would be where he is. But Matt Waldron has done this, Annie. He has put the work out there on the field to make him now ranked in the top 30 in Major League Baseball.
It's wild, especially when you look at Matt Waldron and you think, oh, he's the number 5 starter. He's the number 5 starter, and you always use that context to talk about him. And now what you're pointing out there really is like, you can take those little bumpers away that you put when you're at the bowling alley and, you want to make a softer landing for people. He's in the conversation with the best pitchers, the best starters, the best rotation members among baseball. And honestly, when Matt Waldron was first starting the season, it was kind of understandable. Like I said, even the organization didn't exactly know what they were going to get with him. You always were like, how this could go either way. And now Matt Waldron has cemented his place to the point where you feel pretty good every time Matt Waldron takes the mound. Like, you're like, oh, this could be a good start day. And you know who else feels that? The players behind him. The players behind him know as well, oh, okay, like this has worked out well for us. This is a day that he's going to go out and shove. I think what's cool about Matt Waldron is he lacked, and he will say this himself, he lacked the confidence, because why would he have the confidence? He didn't know if his stuff played. He knew he was a good pitcher, but he wasn't exactly sure how everything was going to roll out. And he has now started to not only really believe in himself, he started to really trust his stuff, as we've seen with that knuckleball. Even when the knuckleball isn't as dominant as he wants it to be, it's still serviceable enough, and now he knows when to use it, that it's still a weapon for him. And then he's bettered his other pitches, and he's been able to use that pitch mix more. So there's just a lot to like about this. I think it was cool. Who was the knuckleballer that was in the booth?
Tom Candiotti.
Tom Candiotti.
We're about to hear from him.
Yeah. Oh, good. Okay. I thought it was cool. We'll hear from him when he talked about Matt Waldron. I think it's a reminder that this is so unique in the major leagues to have a guy like this. Teams just don't face this kind of guy. And that in itself is also a weapon, which is nice.
100%. And when you talk about how his other pitchers are playing up, I'm reminded of some of the conversations we had 3, 4, 5 starts into this season when the numbers were the other direction, when his fastball and his sweeper and his cutter were all rating as way below average major league pitches. But the thing is, it's all predicated on the knuckleball. I was really noticing this in Saturday's start, Annie. The way he's using his sweeper now is it's creating a reverse movement of his knuckleball. The knuckleball will come in and it tends to drift down and toward the left-handed batter or down and away from a right-handed batter, and then he's backdooring the sweeper so it has that reverse spin action. So it's like, wait, is this the floater or is this the tight spinner?
It tricks you.
It's the kind of thing that makes you a great pitcher when you have a pitch that comes out of the same place and goes to 2 different spots.
Yeah, exactly. It's coming across that same line. You don't know how it's going to end up falling or landing, right? I really, too, with Matt Waldron, do you notice this? I mean, the guy, like, he has ice in his veins. He just doesn't, like, react to anything. I mean, he is so calm out there. He could be, you wouldn't know if he had the best start in the world and he just threw a no-hitter, or he had the worst start in the world, because that's just kind of how he is. He's just very calm, cool, and collected. And when Ruben Niebla, they showed a shot of Ruben Niebla talking to him between innings, and he just was barely motioning anything. Just, it's just everything is very chill with him, which honestly we've seen with pitchers in the past can be such a great thing when you're a pitcher and you're able to just contain your emotions. And obviously he gets excited and he gets upset with himself when things don't go well. But for the most part, this guy is just ice in his veins out there.
So, as you mentioned, Tom Candiotti, a guy who I was lucky almost a quarter century ago now to spend a spring with and do spring training broadcasts on MLB.com with. Got to know Candy over a while. I think it's one of the reasons why I was already intrigued by Waldron is you could see Tom Candiotti in Matt Waldron. A lot of folks probably in the audience never watched Tom Candiotti pitched. You've heard me say this a little bit before.
His kid pitch.
You're about to hear him say this too, but he was like Waldron. He wasn't just knuckleball. When I was growing up, Charlie Huff was the guy who was just knuckleball. He was a Texas Rangers pitcher. Phil Niekro as well, but I was more toward the tail end of Phil Niekro's career when I was growing up as a baseball fan. But like Charlie Huff would go out there and he'd throw nothing but knuckleballs. Like 1 out of 10 pitches would be something other than a knuckleball. But Tom Candiotti would throw a fastball. He had a good curveball, sort of like Waldron has that sweeper. And he had the knuckleball. And yet he thought of himself as a knuckleball pitcher. He didn't resist that. Here is a quote, and this was a great interview that Sammy Levitt had on his Eco Water SoCal Padres pregame show on Saturday, where he caught up with Tom Candiotti down on the field. And he asked Candiotti, who has met, by the way, if you don't know, has met with Waldron, met with him when we came up, met with him in 2022. Like, he's been somewhere in the network of Matt Waldron as he's come up.
Yeah, I mean, he's offered to help him. Like it's a knuckleball fraternity, if you will.
Indeed. Well, what you'll hear in this clip right here is exactly how he helped Matt Waldron, Annie. He literally gives in here Matt Waldron's game plan as a knuckleball pitcher. Here, take a listen.
He reminded me exactly of myself. He had good other stuff, and he also had a knuckleball. And so what he wanted to do was, try to throw his knuckleball, but he still wanted to rely on his other stuff. It's kind of a big step for a pitcher to take to try to make that jump. And so I said, just think of this. Think of throwing your knuckleball even or ahead in the count. And that way, you're 0-1, throw it again. If you're 1-0, throw one of your other pitches, make sure it's a strike. You get the 1-1, throw your knuckleball. And so that just gives you a game plan. And so I think he started doing that. And now, he's kind of starting to graduate a little bit from just being a pitcher that throws a knuckleball and turning himself into a knuckleball pitcher.
What great insight, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
So even in the count, knuckleball it out. Mm-hmm. Behind in the count, you've got other weapons that you can get back into the count with. Throw a strike, be smart, sequence properly, and the confidence is just building. The cauldron is bubbling. You can see the confidence bubbling through Matt Waldron now. You could see in the first 4 or 5 starts of the year that he didn't have that confidence in his sequencing and in the quality of his pitches. And now, bases loaded, nobody out, gives up a hit, 8 turns into 8-1. I guarantee you in April, 8-1 would have turned into 8-3, into 8-5, into pull him out, into we're in trouble, now there's a pitcher, right? And instead, he just locked in, got 3 outs, nobody moved again, and he kept rolling into the next inning.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch, and that insight is great. It's cool to hear about kind of that fraternity of knuckleballers and just the fact that it's such a unique pitch that no one, Ruben Niebla has talked about, he doesn't even know how to, well, not that he doesn't know, but like this is his first knuckleballer that he's had. He's learning alongside. Your catchers are learning alongside. Everybody's kind of learning alongside Matt Waldron with this knuckleballer. And Matt Waldron for such time was like, I don't even want the knuckleball to be used, really. Like he wasn't even really into it, And so now he's embraced it, and he's, I think Tom Candiotti talked about that on the broadcast as well, just embracing it and saying, okay, this is something that can be used to my advantage big time and not resisting it so much. And it's cool to hear Kyle Higashioka talk about it too, because he's like, he will talk about, he didn't really enjoy catching it all that much because it's a crazy pitch and it's hard as a catcher to know where it's going and what it's going to do. And now he has also started to embrace it. So, when things are working, everybody kind of jumps upon the train and says, all right, let's go, let's ride.
Bottom line, this guy has a chance all by himself to turn around, rewrite history, and redo the evaluation of the 2020 Mike Clevenger trade. That was a 6-for-2 deal that looked like a complete wash for the San Diego Padres because Josh Naylor is still playing well for Cleveland, and Cal Quantrill was very good for them for a number of years, and Arias came up and played, and like almost every guy, like Cantillo's still in their system. It looked like a complete blowout loss. But we got Matt Waldron back in that deal as the extra player, and all of a sudden he has a chance. He's already outperformed Mike Clevenger. He has a chance to resurrect that deal.
Yeah, I mean, look, we talked about it earlier in the show, so we've got to come back to it. That obviously there's still a lot of season to go. and so you want to be able to see him finish strong as well. But in terms of just what he's been able to give this rotation so far, and in terms of how he's been able to get better, he's been able to grow as a person, as a pitcher. Like, that is what you want to see. That is what you hope for. That is everything you would want out of your number 5 starter, for sure. And the other thing is, it makes it the blow of the injuries that they've had and some of the inconsistency that they've had from other pitchers, by the way, a little easier to bear. I mean, you don't feel so much desperation with this pitching staff as if you looked at it on paper and you're like, okay, Joe Musgrove's out, Yu Darvish is out, Michael King is first time pitching in the league as a starter. Matt Waldron, I don't feel that desperation when I look at them. You feel like there's some questionable parts, but they've been able to hold it together pretty darn well for what they've got.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this team would be in 13th place if Matt Waldron was what he was in the first month of the season.
Yeah.
And he has completely changed that to be, I have to repeat this, the 27th most productive starting pitcher right now in baseball. There's 30 teams. There's 150 starters. That means he is in the top 5th of starting pitchers right now in Major League Baseball. Do you know what they call them? Aces. That's wild to say. I'm not saying Matt Waldron's an ace. I'm saying he's pitching like an ace for the Padres this year, counting his bad starts, because the good starts have been that good. When we come back, another player who maybe is a little under the radar for you, but is playing so well that I have to tell you, he's doing it in his last year as a San Diego Padre. We will pay off that tease when we come back in our Padres Deep Dive Hour. Annie and Elsten here with you until 2 o'clock on San Diego's number 1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. The NBA Finals are in progress for at least a couple more games. And Inside the Green Room with Danny Green is a podcast that takes you beyond the scoreboard. Join the three-time NBA champion Danny Green for insight on the association you won't hear anywhere else. Find Inside the Green Room with Danny Green in the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Back with you, it's the Padres Deep Dive Hour. Annie and Elsten here with you. Craig Elsten, Annie Heilbrunn, Braden Soprenet, together, working our way towards 2 p.m., getting ready for the sports fix at the top of the hour. Just working on that in between the breaks. Also, a little bit later in the show, old friend returns. Jenny Cavnar will make a return appearance here on Annie and Elsten. She is in town along with the Oakland Athletics for 3 games this week at Petco Park. So we'll hear from Jenny at 1 o'clock, and we'll get caught up on what's going on with an A's team that's not nearly as terrible as everyone thought they would be.
No, they're competitive.
They've been doing well, so,
Or they're going to compete, is what I should say.
Hey,
Yeah.
Padres need to treat them like the 1998 New York Yankees.
Listen, you think of it like this. They are a few percentage points ahead of the Angels, who swept the Padres.
Yeah.
So you got to still, you definitely need to respect them coming into town.
Padres need to treat every single team like they are the Dodgers. And if they do that, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
They'll be absolutely fine. Okay. So we talked about one of the really good news stories for San Diego in 2024 in our last segment, Matt Waldron. If you missed that, you can go back, catch it in the Odyssey app, so on and so forth on the podcast, etc. Most obviously, we said before, the number one feel-good story is Profar. Number 2 is Waldron. The number 1 hot player for the San Diego Padres, without question, is Fernando Tatis Jr. He's on a 15-game hitting streak. He's hitting home runs again. He's got his OPS plus up to within 5 points of his career average. He's got his batting average within 2 points of his career average. Like, he is having that June that we've dreamed about. And quite frankly, when you look at the state of the NL outfield, he is barreling directly toward an all-star appearance.
He really is, and I didn't realize this till over the weekend when I looked at the state of the NL outfield. I thought, well, now this makes a lot of sense because Fernando is heating up. His numbers look really good. They look like all-star numbers as compared to who else could be, I guess, possible. There are a few others, I think, but it would be great to see Fernando and Jerkson at the all-star game together. I think that'd be actually really cool, the two of them, good, very good friends, best friends even. So that'd be a lot of fun, and it's great to see for Fernando. Like, you feel it, don't you? I mean, you just feel the difference in his the swagginess, in his mojo, in the way that he's playing the game. When the Padres were scoring on Saturday, I believe, even if he had, he wasn't on the field, he was jumping out of the dugout first to cheer and jump up in the air and high five guys. So he was really invested in all these games, and it's good to see him heating up. And that power, the slug, I mean, we talked about it during that losing streak for the Padres. They just could not get any slug going. They did have some slug over the weekend, these games against the Dodgers, and Fernando had 2 of those home runs. He
did. Fernando, in his last 26 games, okay, so this even precedes the hitting streak, 320 average, 397 on base, 495 slugging. You'll take that every day. Now, the last 2 weeks, his OPS is 1162. The last week, his OPS is 1259. So he's hitting like prime career Barry Bonds right now with an average of 448 and an on-base percentage of 500. Here's what I think is happening, just for the deep dive side of Fernando, and then we're going to switch to another player. Fernando was chasing a lot.
He does that when he's not going well.
Correct.
He chases a lot.
And he was getting really froggy in a lot of plate appearances and swinging at the first pitch and putting it in play. He was doing that a ton the first 2 months of the season, just really letting whatever that first pitch be determine the at-bat. Well, as it turns out, this year, that has not been going well for Fernando Tatis Jr. Here's your deep dive stat on Fernando for today. When Fernando swings at the first pitch this year, including ones where the at-bat continues, but when he hacks at the first pitch, he is hitting 223 with a 246 on-base percentage and a 289 slugging percentage. He's OPSing 535, way below average.
He used, I want to say, and maybe I'm not remembering it correctly, but his first pitch used to be really dominant.
Yeah.
I think he used to be really good at that first pitch.
Well,
Maybe that's like an old habit.
He has been not letting the pitcher off the hook
Yeah.
by swinging at the first pitch as much during the last 25 games. And this year, in at-bats where Fernando Tatis Jr. takes pitch one, whether it's a strike or a ball, he is hitting .329 with a .438 on base and a .611 slug, and 11 of his 12 home runs have come later in the at-bat. So to me, that's a young player showing confidence in himself. If you have faith in yourself that you are not going to chase the waste pitch, that you're not going to chase the two-strike slider in the left-handed batter's box, then you are able to get yourself into good counts as opposed to just swinging at that first pitch and kind of rolling the dice in terms of whatever they go, I'm going to put it in play.
I would agree with you there. You know, his aggressiveness has worked well for him in his the beginning of his major league career, and it will still work well for him at times. But look, pitchers are pitching him different now too, you know? And so I think for him, when he stays within himself, and you see it in the eye test, you see it now in his plate appearances, in his at-bats, where he is, you feel like he's putting the pressure on the pitcher again instead of the pitcher putting pressure on him. You feel like he's in control of the AB, and he's got a plan, you know. And I know he talked to his dad maybe a week ago or whatever. You know, they kind of worked on a few things, seemed to help him a lot. But I think a lot of it is that when he's not going well, he will chase more. And for him to stay within himself and have the confidence too within, you know, later pitches to know he can get it done. I think it's a sign of growth for him and just kind of, you know, growing as in terms of a player, knowing that they're going to come at you different now, you know, his whatever year it is in the league now, fifth, something like that.
Yeah.
Fourth,
Well,
fifth,
2019 he
19.
came up. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever we're at, guys. I didn't do the math, but
Sixth year in the bigs.
you know, it's something about sixth. There you go. It's
Of course, one of those years was not a year.
Yeah. It's something about for him, too, that the calendar turns to June. He heats up. I don't care if that's mental or not. Good for the Padres. Good for him. I hope he can sustain it. But it is just like this team goes as Manny goes. We've heard that before. But Fernando's a big piece of that, too. Fernando's a big piece. And the older he gets, the more years he has under his belt, it goes also as Fernando goes, you know. And so for him to get going right now, I think is a huge boost for these Padres.
Here's the other player who is quietly playing very well over the last month, and that is Ha-Seong Kim. And I know that when I said that, there was a certain percentage of the audience that went, oh, whatever. Yeah, right, Craig. You've told me Ha-Seong Kim's your favorite player. Shut up, you. He's hitting .220. He's not doing anything. And I really do think from just like talking to Padres fans, seeing all of the discourse around the team, that the current perception in San Diego of Ha-Seong Kim is that he is struggling, having a bad season, having one of his worst seasons, losing his value on the free agent market, and thus, from some Padres fans' train of thought, becoming easier to potentially extend or keep in San Diego. Well, friends, allow me to disabuse you of all of those notions, okay? As a point of fact, Ha-Seong Kim is third on the Padres in F-WAR. He is almost to 2 F-WAR already this season. He is at 1.9 this year. In shortstops, he's 9th in baseball at 1.9 F-WAR. So he is right now, with everything you've seen and everything you might not have liked, you know, whether it's an error here or there or, you know, a strikeout or a pop-up or whatever, he's a top 10 shortstop in baseball this year with his current performance. And in his last 25 games, Ha-Seong Kim has an on-base percentage of .351, and he has an OPS of .808, which is within 80 points of what Fernando has done over the last 25 games. So I want us all to recognize the quality of which Ha-Seong Kim is putting out there, his combination, his classic combination of defense that shows up every day, power that shows up on occasion, the best eye on the team, leads the club in walks, still over even Jurickson, and has good speed when he gets on the base paths, albeit makes some dumb mistakes on the base paths too, but he has really good speed. So I looked at all this over the weekend, Danny, and it really stuck in my head this is the farewell tour of Ha-Seong Kim, because the numbers he's putting up, there's a lot of organizations that are going to spend big money to bring that to their team next year.
Yeah, it's interesting with Ha-Seong Kim. He has, like, when he hits the ball hard, I feel like he's also run into some of the bad luck a little bit, right? He's hitting it right at guys, but he's hitting the ball hard quite a bit, or he was, at least for a period of time, and just wasn't dropping. Definitely some more errors this year that we've seen, but Ha-Seong Kim is a great defender. I mean, he is. Whatever's been going on this season is really more of the outlier and not the norm, and I think teams recognize that. He's a guy that's going to lay out for pretty much every play, and he's going to work hard in the offseason. You know, he put on like 20 pounds in the offseason so that he would have more slug. He'd be able to hit more home runs. Maybe we're starting to see the fruition of that coming about as the summer starts to heat up and as he starts to get more comfortable. And he was asked after the game the other day, he was asked if he thinks he's a better hitter this year than he was last year. And he said, you know, to be honest, if I had a little bit more luck with some of my balls in play this season, he would say that he is a better hitter. But, you know, it's early in the season. But he feels like by the end of the season, his results will show that he's a better hitter this year than last year. So, look, time will tell, right? But it's good to see him get going and to start, because you felt the same. I felt the same thing with him. You felt it when players aren't going well like that. You just feel not their full-on confidence disappear, but it's just kind of this mentality of like, okay, when's it going to turn around? You know, when's it going to turn around? Like, is it going to be this series? Is it going to be next series? And so you're starting to see that with him, with Ha-Seong Kim, and that's a good sign for the Padres as well. One more thing about that. You know, Xander Bogaerts said over the weekend, I think he said it to the UT, might have said it to more media, that they were the prettiest losses this team has ever had, because they had great starting pitching. They were out hitting the opponent. If there was something else, I forget what it is, but they still lost the games, right?
No, that was the third thing.
Okay,
the third thing was that they lost every game.
But look, you want to look at the silver lining of that is that if you've got Fernando heating up, if you've got Ha-Seong Kim heating up, if you've got Manny still doing what he does when he comes back, because he was getting feeling better as well, and then you've got the fact that like your rotation is doing well, you're starting to see how this team could put it together. Whether or not do they do it for a long, consistent period of time, they have to show us that. But you're starting to see what it could look like. Even the offense, Craig, when you put together the slug and the average.
Right. Yeah. I mean, hey, when this team hits homers, they're going to be really hard to beat. When they play good lockdown defense, they're hard to beat. When they get good pitching, they're hard to beat. Somehow they got beat 5 straight times. But we know that. We had to come in here every day and clock in and tell you about it. They lost those games on horrible hitting with runners in scoring position, having no power, and running into critical outs that diffused the team's ability to sustain a rally. Like, those are the things that happened during that loss. We were forensic enough to explain, like, what actually happened. Nonetheless, right. I mean, it's all, again, LOL, nothing matters. Like, things get hot, things get cold, and we wind up right here.
That's the thing. That's going to be on Ha-Seong Kim and Fernando Tatis Jr. and all the players and everybody to put together is the consistency. Like, that's what you're missing, really. You know, and so you've seen that they can do it. And so now you want to see them put it together consistently. But hey, you'll take it in June. You'll take it starting in June, right?
You will. Well, let's take a break. And when we come back, I want to ask the follow-up question to this segment. I think there's a natural follow-up question to this segment. If we agree that Ha-Seong Kim is playing at a level that is going to be very highly valued in Major League Baseball, heading to free agency, and that as such, knowing where we are as a franchise, probably farewell tour for Ha-Seong Kim in San Diego, well, then who would be the Padres shortstop in 2025?
I have a thought on this.
And I want to hear that thought. So let's all stay right here, and we're going to hear Annie's thought when we come back. Padres Deep Dive Hour continues. Annie and Elsten on The Fan. 11:43 on the Fan. Welcome back, everybody. Annie and Elsten here with you every day during baseball season. We devote the 11 a.m. hour, almost always all of it, to a Padres deep dive. Sometimes we bring in a guest, in this segment, but most of the time we do 3 segments of deep dive analysis for you on your beloved Padres. And at the end of the year, Annie, I'll be a little bit less sane than I was at the start. I'll lose a certain percentage of my sanity and delve ever closer to, an end game of madness, which I'm sure is how I will end my life, is completely stark raving mad. But that's the job.
Taking quite a turn.
That's the job. This 500 team.
Yes, it'll do it to you. I mean, it will. You got there's a comment in the chat saying, "Hey, this team is 500. Just sip a social sparkler, flip a coin, and enjoy the ride." And yes, that is a way to do it, right?
Right.
That's probably your only way but
only healthy way.
Only healthy way, right?
Yeah.
We know that there's a lot of people who are they're gonna invest in the intricate details of the ups and downs.
Indeed. And look, that's the gig. I mean, we signed up for the gig. We're happy to do and enact the gig. I will be a little more crazy at the end of the year, as long as they keep doing this. Now, if they'd like to pick a direction and stick to it, then we won't lose our mind. Nonetheless, we talked about Kim in the last segment, at the tail end of our last segment, working toward, at least for the purpose of our discussion, a conclusion that Kim is going to go on the free agent market and he's going to command a price that's above what the Padres can afford right now. Remember, that San Diego is deeply committed to the next few years to just a handful of players. Right now, they only have about $20 million to play with before next year's cap, with the commitments that they already have and arbitration, stepping in, a raise for Cease, a raise for Arise, etc. They don't have a lot of money to play with. So my question to you is, if we accept the hypothesis that Kim is playing for a different team in 2025, who's the Padres shortstop opening day next year?
Okay. I am putting Fernando Tatis Jr. back at shortstop.
Wow.
Okay? And
Whoa.
here's my reason why.
Whoa.
I've been thinking about this. I've been talking to a few people, all right? I think he's not that they're going to do it. Just that maybe they should. Maybe they should consider it. Okay, you obviously have the injury deal going on. You don't want this guy to get injured. Fernando Tatis Jr. is obviously so much better when he's on the field and he posts, and you don't want him to be injured. But he's gotten that shoulder fixed up. He's done his time out at right field. He learned the position last year. First time playing it in a full season. A platinum glove winner because he played it so well. He conquered that challenge. And now I feel like he's a little bored. I want to move him back to shortstop where things are exciting and he can be his flashy self and he can go out there and make his flashy plays and he can be the Tatis that he was to start his career. Not that he can't do, we see him make amazing plays out in right field. There's just less of them. But he's tremendous out there in right field. I'm not taking that away from him. He's fantastic. I just feel like you put him back in that infield spot where he's just like running around, making his air Tatis catches and all that stuff. And he's just maybe a flashier, more, he's Fernando. You guys know what I mean. He's Fernando.
Yes. I see that, Annie, as one of 3 extremely viable options.
Let
for
me
the
also,
Padres.
I know I don't think it'll ever happen.
You don't think it'll ever happen?
I don't think it'll ever happen.
Interesting. I wouldn't go that far.
I wouldn't go
think
that
it
far
could happen.
either.
Oh, really?
I think it could happen.
They moved Mookie Betts to the infield.
I think that they would think to themselves, we've got a whole bunch of other guys that could play shortstop. And we don't want to tire Fernando out. We don't, not that he'd be tired, but we just don't want to put, we don't want to put that stress on him or whatever.
It's a lot of stress.
I think he thrives in that stress personally, but that's just me.
Okay, so let's just put that as an option on the
Okay.
board. I think there's 3 obvious possibles. And then we can say, do we like one of these better than the others, or can we go off the board for another option? All right, so there's one option. I don't know if we call
let's acquire another shortstop.
Exactly. Should we
Let's
trade
do
for
it.
another shortstop? Should we sign another shortstop?
Please.
Okay, so I'm not saying it's option A, but an option is move Tatis from right field to shortstop. An option is to move Xander Bogaerts back to shortstop. He was a second baseman, but he was a shortstop before. You could just put him back at shortstop, and that makes Xander happy, certainly. And it's a homegrown, easy-made solution, right? So put that on the board. You could put Xander back at short. Option C, or the third option, is to pull the Rook in from center field. Jackson Merrill came up a shortstop. He's trained as a shortstop. Scouts said he would be a capable defensive shortstop, even at his height. And you could put him at shortstop. Mm-hmm. You could even put Tatis in center if you wanted to, and go get a corner outfield. Or if it worked out where you found a center fielder via trade or circumstance, then you could have that center fielder be out there in place of Merrill, and Merrill comes to shortstop. I don't see I see those as your three possibles.
I would agree. I think those are your three options, unless you acquire another shortstop.
Yeah.
But I don't think you should. I mean, I think you have ability within your team, and you can fill in other spots depending on who's the best guy that you can bring in or bring up, or however they want to do that, or move over. But I think, I think those are all viable options.
The reason I prefer Merrill out of that group,
it's because he's the youngest.
He's the youngest. He would love to go back to short. I'm sure of that. I do tend to think that Tatis has established himself as an outfielder now, that we were worried about that in the past, and we're not worried about it anymore.
Well, he has. It's almost like, guys, it's almost like when you take on another job at your workplace, and they're like, hey, you're really good at that too. We're just going to leave you over there. And you're like, well, I never really, I love being over here, but now you're going to put me over there. And they're like, well, you're really good at it. No. Okay, listen, he's getting paid well. Fernando is. He's going to do whatever the team asks of him. He's not going to complain about that. I do think he enjoys playing left field, but I personally think he enjoys playing shortstop more. And I think he's a good shortstop. I mean, I'm sure you know the numbers a lot better than I do, but I know he's, not always on par or whatever. But
I think he's the most erratic of any of those people in terms of errors.
But I also think that he can also make those 50-50 plays sometimes that can go either way, that are just those dynamic plays. And I think that maybe what you get, the payoff that you get from moving him back there, could be higher than maybe moving another person.
Well, those are probably the three choices. This is perfect amount of time left in the segment for me to just make a minor point along the way. At the beginning of the year, here's another thing that at the beginning of the year I really wasn't sure about, that I feel a lot differently about, 69 games into the 2024 season. At the beginning of the year, it wasn't clear cut that Jake Cronenworth at first base was a fit that made sense. His defensive numbers weren't great last year by metrics. By the way, they're not great this year, but I don't understand it. It makes me makes my brain curdle. I'm like, I don't get it. Also, we didn't know if his bat would be able to carry at first base. It seemed like second base was a much more natural fit for Jake Cronenworth. Here's the thing. The current crop of players on this team, I think we're getting hurt by Jake not being the first baseman right now. I understand why. Obviously, Xander's out. Mm-hmm. However, there were 3 different plays last week over the course of the week that were not made specifically due to the fact that our first baseman was short. Twice, Donovan Solano had to jump for a throw, a slightly high throw, and but not very high. But he had to jump to get a throw that was just a little bit high, and it took his foot off the bag. Another time, Luis Arraez had to stretch for a ball that wasn't really that far away from the bag, but because he is the size he is, it took his foot off the bag. And Jake Cronenworth would have made all 3 of those plays routinely just by being taller. Just simply by having 5 inches on those guys, he would have reached up, made the catch, reached out, made the catch on all 3 of those plays. I think the Padres have been, in a very small way, it's the way we're missing Xander in ways that it doesn't show.
Were some of those, though, were those Kim not throwing the ball as...
Well, he didn't nail him in the chest, but,
right.
but most teams don't have 5'8" first baseman.
Yeah.
They just don't. So, I mean, we can say, yeah, it's on the fielder, but also when the target's that small, it's kind of unprecedented in baseball to have your smallest guy play first base.
I mean, Jake definitely has worked also this offseason, right? He's a bigger guy, to your point, but he's also worked to like play off of first base and to really stretch and to play a deeper distance from the bag so that he's able to get some more balls and make some more plays that maybe a first baseman wouldn't normally do. And so yeah, credit to Jake for that too. I think Jake likes to play second, but that's another example of, hey, they need me at first. I'm going to become the best first baseman I can possibly be, and that has helped this team for sure.
Yeah, it's fascinating, all the different sliding pieces, sliding door decision-making matrix, etc. But that's one thing that's just turned up over the last week. Like, I kind of miss having Jake's reliable glove at first base for scoops, for digs, for high throws, for his footwork around the bag. No knock on Solano or Arise, just that's not them. They're not defenders. And both of them are, mini-me's over there. Again, look, they're using every ounce of their incredible, God-given talent, but none of that talent is into high throws.
I mean, look, they've been playing hard. I'm thinking about what the one that Arise was like almost in the Padres dugout trying to make a catch the other day. And so they're playing hard. But yeah, I mean, look, you're playing out of position. You're playing, obviously Jake is getting the reps there every day, or he was, and getting the reps there all spring training and everything. So, yes, he has the height, and then it's also maybe on the fielder also to maybe throw a little bit, to that person, but it's not always going to be perfect. As we talk about in this game, it can't all, you're making bang, bang plays. It's not always going to be perfect. So yeah, there are certain advantages that I think you could pull over to him.
Halfway through the show, Padres Deep Dive Hour. Hope you enjoyed it. We're back tomorrow to take whatever comes out of the hash tonight and boil it down, swirl it around, and get you another Deep Dive Hour tomorrow. When we come back, the 12 o'clock Sports Fix, all the big news from the weekend that was. We've got it all for you. The highlights, the sound, and all the news. Stay right here. Annie and Elsten getting your sports week underway on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Back with you for the lunch hour on Monday. It's Annie and Elsten, everybody. Your new midday hang here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. All together now in our Odyssey studios. Annie Heilbrunn, Braden Suprenant, I'm Craig Elsten. Our pleasure and privilege to be here with you. Hour number 3 of the program. 12 o'clock on a Monday. Let's get all fixed up. All the sports news that's fit to speak, from national to local to regional stuff. Let's get right to it. Your 12 o'clock sports fix. Annie Heilbrunn's got your baseball beat to get us kicked off.
All right. In Major League Baseball, the Marlins have officially released Avisail Garcia after he cleared waivers yesterday. He is in the third season of a 4-year, $53 million contract that has not worked out well for the organization. He will be 33 next week. The Braves called up top pitching prospect Hurston Waldrop yesterday. He started well, then lost command in the fourth inning, gave up 7 runs as the Braves lost 3 of 4 to the Washington Nationals. The White Sox are planning to promote top pitching prospect Drew Thorpe to the majors tomorrow. He will make his MLB debut against the Mariners in Seattle. Thorpe, as many of you may remember, was sent to the White Sox from the Padres in the Dylan Cease trade back in March. He was acquired from the Yankees as part of the Juan Soto package back in December. So a little bit of an old friend there. But speaking of old friends, Juan Soto, he has been sitting while nursing some forearm inflammation. So it was old friend Trent Grisham who launched a go-ahead 3-run homer off Tyler Glasnow yesterday in the Bronx to lead the Yankees to a 6-4 victory over the Dodgers. Braden will have more on that series, I'm sure. Fernando Tatis Jr. hit his 12th homer of the season yesterday, extending his hitting streak to 15 games. That is a career high for Tatis and the longest active mark in baseball. And the Padres start a 3-game set against the Oakland A's today at Petco Park after splitting a 4-game series with the Diamondbacks. It'll be Dylan Cease on the mound for San Diego, Joey Estes for the A's. First pitch is at 6:40 p.m.
All right.
That's your cue, Braden.
Scores from the weekend. Oh, wow.
Here we are.
Monitor's in the way.
Hi, Braden.
What's up? Diamondbacks beat the Padres 9-3. Mets able to split in London against the Phillies. They won 6-5. They put up a 3 spot in the top half of the 9th inning. Gave up 1 run in the bottom half, but were able to secure the victory over the Fightin' Phils. A 1-1 split in London between the Mets and the Phillies. It was the Rangers over the Giants 7-2. Twins beat the Pirates 11-5 and 10. Nationals outlast the Braves 8-5 in our nation's capital. Cubs double up the Reds 4-2. Orioles all over the Rays 9-2 down in Florida. Keeping it in Florida, Guardians beat the Marlins 6-3. Mariners over the Royals 6-5 and 10. Tigers put up 10 runs against the Brew Crew and win 10-2 in the Motor City. On the south side of Chicago, Red Sox beat the White Sox 6-4 in 10 innings. Cardinals over the Rockies 5-1 in the STL. Angels over the Astros 9-7 at the Big A. Halo shined bright last night. Blue Jays over the A's 6-4 and 10. And the Yankees outlast the Dodgers 6-4 on Sunday Night Baseball. A lot of big games and series starting this week. The 5 biggest series this week in Major League Baseball, according to Major League Baseball. Yankees at the Royals, Braves at the Orioles, Phillies at the Red Sox, and it will be Cardinals-Cubs this week in Major League Baseball. There's some big matchups to look for this week. That'll do it for me. That'll do it for Major League Baseball. It's on to the National Basketball Association.
Let's do it. Got a highlight in here. Game 2 of the NBA Finals last night at TD Garden in Boston, where the Celtics looked like a runaway train barreling toward their 18th championship. Luka Doncic and the Mavericks came out with the strong effort you'd expect after dropping Game 1 by 18 points. Doncic finished with 32 points, 11 rebounds, and 11 assists. However, 23 of his 32 came before halftime, and Doncic committed 8 turnovers. Boston's defense was right there, ready to clamp down and create transition opportunities.
Fourth of those. Has it poked away, stolen by Jaylen Brown. Here's Horford. Inside, Holiday banks it in. Defense leading to offense for the Celtics.
Mike Breen on ESPN. Jrue Holiday on the finish right there. He led the Celtics with 26 points, 11 rebounds. Boston wins this one 105-98. Dallas has one more chance to make this a series in a must-win Game 3 on Wednesday. Any teams that go up 2-0 in the finals of the NBA are 31-5 all time. So the odds are in the Celtics' favor. And we talked about this as breaking news at 10:45, but let's repeat it. UConn head coach Dan Hurley has announced that he will stay with the UConn Huskies and go for a third straight NCAA title, telling ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski he turned down a 6-year, $70 million offer to become the LA Lakers head coach. There's the NBA. Let's switch to the Stanley Cup Finals with Annie.
Tonight, it is Game 2 of the 2024 Stanley Cup Finals taking place in Sunrise, Florida. The Florida Panthers won Game 1, and on Saturday night, 3-0. That would just be that they won Game 1 on Saturday night. My bad. Throttling the Edmonton Oilers' fast-paced attack. Tonight, the pressure is on Florida to lock down the home ice advantage with another win before the series shifts to Canada. How much do Florida fans care about their hockey team? Well, here is a sample of the energy surrounding the Panthers. This 13-year-old fan, in his long life, he's seen it all.
I love this.
You're here supporting the Panthers. What does this mean to you? This is a monumental moment in my life. I have been here since day one of my birth, 2011, and I just can't wait to see my team happily host the Cup. Wow! Let's go!
This guy's amazing. His face is like bright red. He's just like a fan. He's a fan, 13-year-old fan that in his
Been here since day one of my birth, 2011.
he deserves this win. Okay.
Happily hoist the cup. Woo!
All right, Game 2 tonight at 5 p.m. on ESPN. And from the NHL to the AHL, one half of the Calder Cup Finals are set as Coachella Valley beat Milwaukee 4-1 to clinch the Western Conference Finals. The Firebirds await the winner of Cleveland-Hershey, where Hershey leads 3-2.
Let's head back to Braden to find out what's what.
We don't have high school football music, so I'll do the college football one instead.
That's fine.
San Diego State Pass League Tournament weekend number 1 was completed this weekend. They divvied everybody up into 3 different brackets. Granite Hills won Bracket C yesterday, so congratulations to Kellen Cobbs and the Granite Hills Eagles for winning the weekend 1 Bracket C championship. As for Bracket B, Yuma Catholic High School out of Yuma, Arizona took home the B crown. And then the A bracket, going undefeated in the entire tournament, the Mount Miguel Matadors with head coach Verlaine Patofi winning Bracket A in weekend 1 of the Passing League tournament. Passing League tournament at San Diego State weekend 2 will be this weekend starting on Friday. It's a Friday-Saturday. I will be with the Dons at 8 in the morning and then cruise over here for work, obviously.
Woo!
Cathedral's got the morning bracket, but there are a lot of local teams in this tournament. Again, this weekend, Cathedral being one of them, obviously. St. Augustine is playing in it. San Marcos. Yuma Catholic's out here for 2 weeks. They're going to be out here again. Modern Day Catholic. Lincoln playing in both weekends as well. Westview. Mount Miguel, again, a lot of teams playing in multiple weekends in a row. La Jolla, Point Loma, Westview, Rancho Buena Vista. The list goes on and on. San Diego State posted the schedule on their Twitter page earlier today, about 35 minutes ago, if you want to check out where everybody is playing. Pool play will start at 8 in the morning and run through 4:15 p.m. Pacific time on Friday. Bracket play will start at 8 a.m. on Saturday. And that's the latest look at high school football. It's already high school football season here in the summertime in San Diego.
I don't understand. Yep. It's June.
It never ends, Craig. It just never ends. Here's Craig Elsten with the rest of the Arena Stadium Soccer Golf Report.
Yes, I've got everything else. Just here's everything else for you now on the 12 o'clock Sports Fix highlight. First, as we get to Friday night at Snapdragon Stadium, the San Diego Wave playing host to the number 1 team in the National Women's Soccer League, the Orlando Pride, a team that came in 8-0-3. In the first half at Snapdragon Stadium, the Wave carried the play, had possession of over 65%, but saw Orlando score on one big play, a full-field counterattack, and that gave the Pride a 1-0 lead. Wave head coach Casey Stoney subs in forward Mackenzie Doniak to start the second half of the match. And the move, it just felt like music arrived right as Doniak arrived on the pitch. And then the synergy continued with this goal.
Sidestepped outside, stayed in, Hurley from McCaskill. Sanchez playing early. We'll have a second bite of the apple. Sanchez wiggles free, ball whisked along, finds a back post, and it actually gets in! San Diego find their equalizer!
That call on Amazon Prime. That was the final, 1-1. The Wave secure the result, get the draw over Orlando, only the 4th team in 12 matches to get a point off of the Pride. The Wave are in D.C. tonight to take on the They're in D.C. to take on the Washington Spirit on Saturday. Saturday, the next Wave home match. The San Diego Legion beat Anthem RC Sunday afternoon at the Snap, 34-24. The Legion improving to 9-4 on the season with 3 matches to go before the MLR, Major League Rugby, playoffs. San Diego Strike Force dropped a tough one at home to Arizona Saturday night, 47-46. Strike Force dropping to 6-5 on the season. Congrats to Carlos Alcaraz and Iga Swiatek. They are your French Open men's and women's champions at Roland Garros. Yesterday at the Memorial in Ohio, Scotty Scheffler had a day he would never dream of. He shot 2 over par, and it was enough. It was enough because the Memorial was playing that tough, and Scheffler gets the win and the big money, beating Colin Morikawa by just 1 stroke. U.S. Open this week. Cannot wait. Last but not least, want to mention, because we talked about it last week, Annie, the soccer tournament, TST, $1 million game. The $1 million game is tonight. The $1 million game is at 5:30 tonight from North Carolina on ESPN News, if you want to watch it. And we're going to wish a very good luck to Drew Ruggles. He is the one San Diego Sockers player that has made it to the final with
Drew.
Nani FC. Yesterday, it was soccer-on-soccer violence in the semifinals with the 2 teams that had Sockers on it, 1 step from the $1 million game. And Nani FC beat Newtown Pride FC 2-1 in 3v3 target score play. So Drew Ruggles is playing for the bag for the 2nd straight year. He won it last year with Newtown Pride FC. This year on Nani FC, he's playing for the $1 million. Today at 5:30 if you want to watch. And if they win, we'll get Drew on the show tomorrow.
Nice.
So, look, if they lose, I guess we could get him on too. But I figured if he won,
More exciting.
he'll be a lot happier.
Better than losing.
Got some more cash in his back pocket.
Exactly. You can take a little time for a phone call. One more little addition to the MLB side having to do with the Padres. Mike Schultz went on MLB Network Radio looks like about maybe 10, 15 minutes ago and said that Manny Machado will be in the DH spot today make sure that the Padres limit the load on his lower half. So there were questions, and Mike Schultz had talked about if he made an injured list stint, it would have been by today. So there were questions about whether it was going to happen, and it would be retroactive, obviously. But looks like he's not going to go on the injured list. He's going to play today as the DH.
That's tremendous. That's great news for San Diego.
For sure, yeah. And for Manny.
Yeah, just the fact. That's Manny Machado, though, man. And that is your 12 o'clock Sports Fix for Monday, June 10th, 2024. Manny Machado is always going to post up.
He's going to post, and you felt like this was going to happen today because yesterday Mike Schultz talked about in the postgame that if there would have been a spot for Manny to come off the bench, they would have used him. However, they were so blown out of that game. It was 9-3. You're gonna let him get the rest. You're not gonna have him come off the bench for that. So you kind of felt like this was imminent today, but still, you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait till the lineup comes out now. He's in it.
No, that's great news, and that's It's what we want to hear as Padres fans. I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, I was really worried about one of those ones where they don't IL him, but then just leave him on the bench for 8 or 9 days. Because, I mean, not for nothing, Eggy Rosario is hitting really, really well in AAA right now, like really well.
Mm-hmm.
And given how well he succeeded against left-handers early in the year, he feels like a player who needs to be on the Padres right now. I don't want to cut Tyler Wade. Like, there's no obvious move to make unless you are ILing a player. So
exactly.
Good to know.
And also good to know Eggy Rosario is doing well because they will probably need him at some point, right? Whether it's an IL stint or just some kind of drop off or whatever. But if he's kind of forcing his way to be thought of, that's also a good sign.
When we continue on Annie and Elsten after this quick timeout, if you thought the Padres were crazy, then you weren't seeing what was happening in the minor leagues over this weekend. 2 of the kookiest results ever. And I literally mean ever. 2 things I've never seen in my life. And I've followed baseball since I was about the age of that kid screaming in the Panthers ad.
Since 2011?
My entire life. 2011.
Who just put in here, was it Matt? He was like, I hate this kid. He's going to see his team win a championship long before I ever do, right?
Yeah, and he's 47.
Good. I mean, this is supposing, right, that the Panthers win this thing, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Either way.
Hey, good news, Matt. Maybe the Panthers will let down their fans for 5 decades. And maybe that kid will grow up to be bitter and horribly scarred.
Sad about it.
As back-to-back years when he was 12 and 13, his formative years, his team went to the finals
He
and
was
lost.
like, we had everything in front of us.
Right?
When I was 12, 13 years old.
Think about it. All your favorite movies are from when you were either a preteen or a teenager. All your favorite music is from when you're a preteen or a teenager. You form so many of the connections in your brain that you utilize the rest of your life at this age. Just imagine if that's what this kid is founded on, back-to-back finals losses. Like, that's what creates a bitter sports fan.
Yeah.
So you still have hope, Matt. You still have hope. Kid could wind up in a worse spot than you.
His face was so red, yelling into that microphone. And he had on like a cast.
Yeah,
he had on
he had a cast.
He had a foot. His foot was in a cast. His face was red. I mean, I really now I kind of do hope that they win for this kid.
Just for the
I don't
kid.
know if he's gonna be able to handle it. Yeah.
Yeah. It might be too big for his britches if they win. I don't know. It's really going to absolutely change his life one way or another. He's either going to be somebody who believes that anything is possible or that everything is ruined.
Those environments, though, for the NHL playoffs, those are really cool. I got to say. They look like a lot of fun.
The best. All right. Absolute lunacy at AA and AAA at both levels. Those stories, if you missed them, when we come back. Annie and Elsten on the Fan. 1224 on the Fan. Annie and Elsten here with you. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by the Frozen Ropes Summer Baseball League and Camps. This week is the last chance. Shut up, computer. This week is the last chance to call to register your ball player age 6 through 12 for the Baseball Summer League. It's going to be an awesome summer of player development and competition. Registration closes this Friday, June 14th. So go to SanDiegoFrozenRopes.com. SanDiegoFrozenRopes.com. Get your kids signed up today. I heard a little bit of this on Don't Do This morning, but we're full 5 hours down the road from there. So I imagine most people don't pay very close attention to the Padres minor leagues. That's why we bring on Ben Davey, right? Someone's got to pay attention. But two things happened this weekend that were completely crazy go nuts. Mm-hmm. Did you see these two results, Annie?
I heard a little bit about it on the morning show, as you did, but I did not see it in action.
I saw the El Paso thing.
Yes.
Where they're down 15-1 and won.
So that's part one.
It's wild.
We're going to do both halves of this.
Okay.
Two things you'll never see.
And it's rare that they both happen in the same weekend.
Yeah. Two things you will never see. And they both happened Saturday night. Mm-hmm. They both happened. We'll start in El Paso, where the Chihuahuas trailed the Las Vegas Aviators 15-1 in the fourth inning. 15-1. I remember a week ago when Musgrove went on the IL. Well, who should we call up? Should we call up Jackson Wolf? Jackson Wolf went 3 1/3 innings, giving up 9 earned runs.
It's a high altitude, buddy.
It is. You remember when a couple people were calling about the bullpen saying, well, why don't you call up Carter Copps? He was the Golden Spikes winner in college.
That was great at Arkansas.
Carter Copps followed Wolf onto the mound in the fourth inning. 2/3 of an inning, 5 hits, 6 earned runs. The Aviators scored 10 runs in the top of the fourth to take a 15-1 lead. Then the Chihuahuas got to work.
So the fourth inning, they have 15 runs.
Yeah, mid four.
Okay.
How many fans left in El Paso?
Right.
I would assume all the fans.
What else are you going to do in El Paso?
I mean, maybe you didn't finish your beer. Maybe you didn't finish your nachos. Maybe you hung around. Well, the good news is people who did hang around at 15-1 immediately started to at least see signs of life because the Chihuahuas got 2 runs in the bottom of the fourth to make it 15-3. And then they shut them out in the top of the fifth, and in the bottom of the fifth, they got 5 more runs. And all of a sudden, it was 15-8, which is still a complete blowout.
Still a blowout, yeah.
You know. And then after a scoreless sixth, old friend Alec Jacob finishing 2 1/3 innings of shutout relief.
2 first names. Mm-hmm.
Right? Here come the mighty fighting Chihuahuas. 9-run 7th inning. 15 straight runs. And they took a 17-15 lead.
That's wild.
Vegas got a run back in the 8th. And then Connor Gillespie finished things off in the 9th. And the Chihuahuas beat the Aviators 17-16.
Baseball. You just
Baseball.
never know what's going to happen. You can never really count anything out.
Baseball.
It'll just embarrass you.
Here's the
15-1. It's over. It's a wrap.
It's over. Well,
it's not.
The biggest deficit in the history of Major League Baseball to be overcome is 12 runs.
Wow.
However, what's wild is this is not the biggest comeback in the history of minor league baseball. At one point, Tacoma was down 17 runs and came back to win a minor league game. But the thing that makes me crazy about this stuff is that these games don't matter. Like, inherently, minor league baseball results don't matter. I mean, they matter to like 100 diehard season ticket fans, to the coaching staff, and to some of the players. I'm not even going to say all the players because many of the players don't give a hoot. They just want to get to the next level. They want to get out of there.
They're just trying to move on.
But this is where these types of things happen. Like, that would be a soul-crushing loss forever.
Oh, that would be, if that happened in the major leagues, that would be talked about for, national news, for, Sports Center and all the networks, because it would be completely devastating to your team.
Now, here's a little funny sidebar. from this is that I immediately went to the Chihuahuas Twitter account or X account because I'm like, well, this is the most exciting win in the history of the Chihuahuas. So there's going to be all the highlights of this crazy comeback from 15-1 down. But very strangely, the Chihuahuas socials were just silent during this game. And then it popped back at the end with like, well, if you missed how Looney Tunes night was, we came back with 15 runs. I kind of feel like the social guy got down 15-1 and like just closed his laptop and left.
Completely. I mean, like these, usually they're the social person, but then they're also like the notes guy. They're the like half the PR staff or the full PR staff.
Giving people refunds on their tickets.
Right. He's like cleaning something up. Like he's got a lot of jobs, or she. But yeah, wouldn't you? 15, whatever. You're like, okay, this is not going to be a night for posting on social media. So I'm just going to.
Really? And even at 15-8, you're like, come on, don't jerk me around. I'm not going to put up the 5-run inning. We're down 7.
Of course. It's like whatever you put up is going to be completely
Chris Paul hits a
laughed
3
at.
to pull it within 48 points.
Exactly. Right, but that social media person didn't take the day off. They posted the clip.
It's the NBA. It's a little different.
I literally think that dude left and got a call. Dude or dudette left and got a call in the 7th.
Turn it back on.
Right. Do you? Why aren't there any posts? Hey, it's Bill the boss. Why aren't there any posts? We just scored 15 unanswered runs. He's like, on it, boss. My laptop froze. I'm working on it. And so like the next highlight is a Graham Pauley outfield catch in the 8th inning, up by 2. Like.
Maybe he was out. Maybe instead of doing all the other work we were saying, maybe he did. He was like, I'm taking the night off. I'm a little tired.
No one cares.
I'm gonna go meet up with some dinner, some drinks.
Comes back like it was all recording, right? Nothing was recording. Give me a highlight. Well, Paulie made a catch. Post it. So I love that. That's AAA. Let's go down one level, where in AA, Ryan Bergert was seeking his first AA win for the San Antonio Missions, and lefty Javian Sandbridge was on the hill trying to preserve a 4-2 lead. Well, Annie, I'm here to tell you, he didn't do it. He gave up a 3-run homer, a 3-1 walk-off homer in Midland, Texas, to lose the game. However, the Missions won the game. The Missions gave up a 3-run walk-off homer to win. We are bringing you now the clip. This is the San Antonio broadcast about a minute after the walk-off homer has been hit because the Missions haven't walked off. They've been walked off, but they haven't done the walking. They haven't walked off the field. And here's what happens next.
I'm still on the field. How about that?
What in the world could this be about?
I have no idea.
Did someone miss a base as they were rounding? They're throwing to third.
It's anything going to appeal that might be the case.
Whoa! An out after the ball.
The Missions win the ball game. I don't believe it. Oh my goodness. Bergen still gets his first win. And Sanders getting a save. It was a 3-run homer by Bowman rather. And somebody missed third base, and the Missions some way, somehow have their luck in their favor. The call reversed, and the Missions hang on and win the ball game 4-2, and the crowd blowing. Somebody missed third base on the home run.
Oh my gosh, Denzel Clark is having to be restrained. They're saying he's the one that didn't touch the bag, and he almost got physical with the umpires. He just threw the Gatorade cooler onto the
There's going to be a
field.
line of suspension right there. I can understand frustration, but even on a home run, when you're on base or when you hit it, you have to touch every single base at home plate. So he forgot to touch third. They appealed, and then Sandberg threw to third, the third base umpire, and crew chief Chris Presley Murphy called Clark out.
Wow.
Pretty incredible.
It was like the broadcaster had bottled it all up.
Yeah.
And he just wanted to get his money's worth for this reversal of call, which doesn't happen often, so I understand. But as they're trying to figure it out, what's going on? Just How in the world could this happen? And then he throws one of the players throws the Gatorade cooler like.
I mean, that dude's going to get suspended
across
for
the
sure.
field.
He wanted to fight that up. Like, that was not a hold me back. Like, they actually had to hold him back. That guy was ready.
So they said one of the guys on base didn't touch third?
Yeah. Yeah, because if you think about it,
Well,
if it was the home run hitter who had missed third, then it would be a tie game, right? Because the first two guys would have come around and scored. You didn't come around and score, and you get picked off. But I believe it was the first, because the final score was 4-2. So it looks like the first guy didn't touch the bag.
It's got to be the worst feeling.
Yeah,
But when do you ever see that? When do you ever see exactly like
there's runners on first and third, so that means the guy at first didn't touch third. Because I watched the replay, and the home run hitter definitely touches third. But they don't have any. Nobody's filming them, so you can review it anyway.
That's right.
How about that? Right, because the guy on. Well, I mean, the guy on third wouldn't have to go back and touch the bag.
It's not softball. You
he'd
retouch.
be live. Yeah, he'd be live.
It's the guy on first. They said didn't touch third base.
So maybe the final score was 4-3. Nonetheless, Javian Sandridge got a save. Javian Sandridge got a save by allowing the last batter he faced to hit a home run that gave the home team the lead in the bottom of the ninth. And he got a save. Hell of a save. I'd keep that ball. Except you'd have to fish it out of the fans' hands who caught it in the outfield.
Right.
Yeah,
The whole thing is crazy.
The Missions are all walked off the field, and then their manager told them to run back out there. That's hilarious.
Then they all just kind of looked
And
at
they're
each
like,
other.
all right, guess so. Let's see. Whatever, coach. See how this goes. And then, all right, sick. We won. Tight.
You got to think that game was won by the video instructor of the San Antonio Mission. Somebody back in the dugout that yelled at the coach, like, he missed third. Right? Like either that or the third base coach, right? Like, who else was even paying attention?
Right.
The umpire had to have, seen it. Because, have you ever seen those before? Like, the umpire, kind of sees something, and then they kind of give you a look like he didn't touch third. And then, the team gets what? Oh, he said he didn't touch third. Go appeal. I mean, because if none of the
doubt yourself though, with no replay, no nothing,
right? Like if the umpires weren't paying attention, even if it was on video, they wouldn't overturn it. So one of those guys obviously saw it before the team did.
Yeah,
and probably did the whole shoulder shrug. I didn't touch third.
But I mean, that's the thing though, Braden. I don't know this specifically, but wouldn't the umpire be forbidden from communicating that to the team?
Well, they are, but that doesn't mean they don't.
Right.
They usually do a little. Or you can look at the umpire and you're like, he really wants to tell me something. He's still standing out there. It's like the times where, you put the ball in play or something like that in certain sports and the official never blows it dead. He's just standing there. And you're like, why are they standing there?
Right.
So you start running with the ball like in football and you're like, oh, I guess he wasn't down. I think it's probably I would imagine it's one of those instances because the umpires were all just kind of standing there looking around like.
I'm not sure what the beat is like for the Missions, but I want the in-depth look at how this went down.
Me too. Yeah, I'd like the forensic accounting. Who was the first person to know?
I need a feature on it.
How did it come together? Did the umpire give anyone a look? Was there a raised eyebrow? Did the third base coach start yelling at the umpire and then the umpire just stood there and he took it as a context clue? He'd be walking away if this wasn't if there wasn't something, he'd walk away and go into his umpire's room. I'm really curious too. The TikTok. We need the TikTok.
I bet you it was literally he didn't touch third or something like that and said it under his breath and somebody heard him.
That'd be pretty wild to me. Because then if I was the Midland manager, I'd be furious.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Hey, you know what? Touch third base, you don't have a problem.
Well, I mean, yes, that too, but also part of it is someone has to know. And to me, that's almost like the game show host giving out the answer. You're supposed to wait until the question is answered and then you say if it's right or wrong, as opposed to being like, hey, by the way, did you see that? So I'm really wondering. I would bet, Braden, I'm not knowing, obviously none of the three of us know. I would bet that it was a situation where the third base coach or the third baseman saw it and then the umpire didn't say, but kind of, like you said, just kind of looked at him. They locked eyes for a second and then the guy just stood there.
Yeah, and he had this look on his face.
Yeah,
he really
caught.
wants to say something, but he can't.
Tricky T is like, but hey, they hit it over the wall. Why isn't that just a homer? I mean, we've eliminated throwing the 4 pitches for an intentional walk. It's a little bit pedantic. I mean, I will admit it's a little bit pedantic, but at the same time, you got to touch them all.
Gotta touch them all.
He plays men's softball, and in men's softball, if you hit a home run, you don't have to run the base. Everybody just walks off the field. You just up.
What fun is that?
I agree. It's not nearly as fun, but it's to save time. Now, that's a sport that's played with time. There's time issues on that, so you can kill time by running the bases. But that would be really dumb if they eliminated that from baseball.
Yeah. And Brandon's right. When I said third base coach, it would, of course, be the team that hit the homer would have their third base coach. So he'd just be celebrating. He wouldn't say jack. So is it the bench coach? Was it the video guy? Was it the third baseman himself? Did the manager see it? Is the manager that locked in? Is the manager of a Double-A team so desperate to get paid and to move up? Are they that locked in that when a team hits a walk-off against them, that they are staring at third base going, well, I'm not leaving until I see all those feet touch that bag?
Where is the 30 for 30? Where is the what if I told you? I feel like this is the territory we're getting into.
Like a 15-minute version of it.
What if I told you that a team
What
hit
if
a
I
walk-off
told
homer
you?
and lost?
You know, it's time for Permian high school football out there in Midland Lee. Midland Lee and Permian's ready to get going. Move on from the Midland Rockhounds.
Let's take a break. When we come back, it is time for Silly Games. We do it every day at 12:45, and courtesy of our Cracker Jack sales department, we have a great grand prize this month. Whoever wins this week on our show, Ben and Woods, Gwen and Chris, between here and the end of June, will be qualified for a chance to win our grand prize, a 2-night stay at Fontainebleau, Las Vegas, tickets to your choice of either Hootie and the Blowfish or Smashing Pumpkins.
Wow.
At the Blue U Live. No, that can't be right. Blue Live. Yeah. It's BLEAU Live.
Oh, like Fontainebleau.
Blue
Yeah.
Live. Blue Live. It's not what I said. Blue Live Theater. And a $150 poolside dining credit.
That's a good prize.
That really is.
Yeah.
Are these, by the way, these weekend events for the minor leagues, is it a coincidence they both happen against the A's affiliates?
Oh.
Maybe it's setting the Padres
Right?
up.
Because I was like, I'm pretty sure the Aviators are A's affiliate, and I knew the Rockhounds were, and I looked, both Padres versus A's affiliates this weekend. Catastrophic things happen for the A's.
Let it be 1, 2, 3. Good things come in threes.
put into the universe.
That's right.
Double-A, Triple-A, and big leagues. Let's do it.
All the same span of a week.
Summer room packages and tickets are available now at FontainebleauLasVegas.com. Today's silly game is Fast Money. It's your easiest game to win on the entire station. We do believe that to be true. So give us a call now, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973, looking for one contestant to play Fast Money. And we do that when we come back right here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 12:48 is the time. A little late into the segment, but we still have time for our daily silly game. And today it is the bonus round from Family Feud. It's time to play some fast money. Here we go. It's your chance to qualify for our end of the month grand prize, a 2-night stay at Fontainebleau, Las Vegas, tickets to see your choice of either Hootie and the Blowfish or Smashing Pumpkins at the Blue Live Theater, and a $150 poolside dining credit. Today's Silly Games special contestant is Sean in Mission Beach. Hi, Sean. Welcome to Annie and Elsten. How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
Doing real well, thanks. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Sean.
Well, work in the bar and nightlife industry. I'm on my way into work, and just love listening to you guys in the afternoon on my way in, and let's have an opportunity to play.
All right, let's do it. Well, I hope you win, Sean. Here's the deal. It's very, very simple. You're going to pick either myself or Annie as your contestant to play against. That host will leave the studio. Then our local Richard Dawson, Braden Soprenin, is standing by with 5 questions to ask, questions that he recently asked of a previous Annie and Elsten studio audience where they got their most popular answers. He's going to give you 5 questions in 60 seconds. You're looking for the most popular answer. You'll give yours, then the co-host comes back in. They give their answers. They cannot repeat the answers that you give. Whoever wins, wins. Sound like a plan?
Outstanding.
Who would you like to play, myself or Annie?
Let's play against you.
All right, I'm out of here, and here's Richard Dawson.
All right, let's wait for Craig to leave the premises here. This is our fastest game that we like to play. It's called Fast Money. All right, Sean, you got 1 minute on the clock to answer these 5 questions for any reason. If you get stumped, you can pass, and we can come back to it a little bit later if there's still time permitting. Time starts when I ask you the first question. How can you tell immediately that an email is spam?
Exclamation point.
You say exclamation point?
Like as the header.
Ah. Gotcha. Number 2, name something humans wear but cats look silly in.
Sock.
I'm sorry?
Sock. Sock.
Socks.
That's a good one.
Number 3, name something you might climb a tree to get.
A cat.
Cat, that's a good
Cat.
answer.
Okay, good.
Name a crime that most cops have probably committed themselves.
Speeding.
That's a great answer.
Yep.
Name a kind of tree that would look silly to have as a Christmas tree.
Eucalyptus tree.
Eucalyptus tree.
That is
Very
oddly
specific.
Yes. All right, bring in Craig.
Okay, Craig's coming back in. Taking on Sean here. Sean had some good answers.
All right, 1 minute on the clock.
All right. Ready to go.
How can you tell immediately that an email is spam?
Because it shows up in my spam inbox, but I don't know. Pass.
Pass!
Pass.
Name something humans wear but cats look silly in.
Name something that what?
Humans wear but cats look silly in.
Hats.
Hats. Funny hat. Name something you might climb a tree to get.
A Frisbee.
Got a lot of oddly specific answers today. Name a crime that most cops have probably committed themselves.
Speeding.
Try again.
Running a stop sign.
Okay. Name a kind of tree that would look silly to have a Christmas tree. As a Christmas tree.
Oh, wow. A tree? A redwood would be ridiculous as a Christmas tree.
That would be ridiculous. Name something, or how can you tell immediately that an email is spam?
I don't know.
Guess.
Because it's in the spam box. Because it's in the spam box. I don't know.
You guys got your ass kicked today. Just to leave it at that. Let's bring
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Sean back.
I know it's spam.
I don't know.
Because it came from an Indian prince?
Dear good sir.
You know, you'll be like, wow, once I tell you.
Okay.
How can you immediately
Send me money.
How can you tell immediately that an email is spam? Sean said exclamation point. No. Craig didn't. He said, what did you say?
That was in my spam inbox.
Unknown sender, no subject. Go. Oh, there you go. Spam
No
inbox.
subject.
Go to junk. 18.
Spam
Go to
inbox.
junk, 18.
Go to
Yeah.
junk.
Yeah.
There you go. You're on the board.
18.
Virus alert.
was right.
There's always another one too.
Virus alert.
That's
Okay,
a
that's
good
a good one.
All right.
Name something humans wear, but cats look silly in. Sean said socks.
Okay, true.
That would be silly.
Oh, no.
Nobody agrees with him.
Oh my gosh.
I think it would look
Craig
silly.
said hats. Number one answer, hats. 44 points.
Hats. Let's go.
People pick hats, but
Hats
not
for cats.
socks.
No hats for cats.
Name something you might climb a tree to get. Sean said, a cat.
Sure.
Number one answer.
Oh.
That would be 42 points.
You're on the board, buddy.
Back in it. Craig said a frisbee. No. Oddly specific.
Was there a ball?
I'm wearing a
Yes.
Morley
Okay.
Field shirt right now. Like, I would literally go on the tree for the frisbee.
There is a ball. We will continue we'll see who wins
We've
when we
got
come
Jenny
back.
Cavnar at 1 p.m. So
Oh,
we're
that's
going to have to.
So we're going to wrap this and we're
Yes.
going to talk to Jenny right after this. Stay right here, folks. Action-packed hour coming up, and we're leaving you on a cliffhanger. Who wins? Me or Sean? We'll find out next. Annie and Elsten on the Fan. Back with you for hour number 4 of your new midday hang on a Monday. Welcome back, everybody. Annie and Elsten here with you on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan, with Annie Heilbrunn and Braden Soprenik. Craig Elsten here with you. Let's take care of some very brief accounting, and then we've got Jenny Cavnar waiting on the line, the play-by-play voice of the Oakland Athletics, who are here in town to take on your San Diego Padres the next 3 days. We did just get to 3/5 of the accounting of fast money before we hit the hard break. So, Braden, let's just wrap things up and find out how Sean beat me.
Craig had a 62-0 lead and blew the 62-0 lead in the second half.
Damn.
As Sean answered with 100 unanswered points. How can you tell immediately that an email is spam? Craig got 18 points for spam box. The number one answer was unknown sender at 35 points.
Okay.
Name something humans wear but cats look silly in. Craig got the number one answer at hats for 44. Sean didn't get anything for socks. Name something you might climb a tree to get. Number one answer was cat, 42 points. Frisbee was not on there. It was fruit, ball, and kite, which is oddly specific.
Yeah.
To finish out that question. So then it was 62-42. Name a crime most cops have probably committed themselves. Sean went with speeding, 58 points, number one answer. Running a stop sign was not on there. Stealing, jaywalking, and littering was also options.
All right.
Name a kind of tree that would look silly to have as a Christmas tree. Sean was up 100-62. Neither of you got this right. Number one was oak tree, followed by palm tree, followed by maple tree, followed by fruit tree. Although, Craig, I would have loved to see somebody put redwood because that would be a ridiculous thing.
That'd be a ridiculous Christmas tree. You would have to take the roof off your house. Also, you'd commit a crime because you can't cut down a redwood. So
I think you're just smarter than the audience.
I think it's just
oak tree was the first one that came to mind.
Oak.
Maple?
I mean, like, obviously an oak tree would be just a crappy Christmas tree.
Yeah, if I get that question, it was like oak. All right, we're done.
Bizarre.
Craig lost. Sean won.
Congratulations, Sean. Congratulations. We'll play another silly game tomorrow. Tomorrow we will play Mind the Gap, and we will move along. And we hope, Sean, that you win the trip to the Fontainebleau, which might be where Jenny Cavnar wants to stay at future time, heading to Las Vegas. Las Vegas in her mind for the future, but the present is right now. It's the Athletics. It's Oakland. It's a team that's probably been a lot better than maybe expectations coming out of spring training. We talked to our dear friend, Jenny Cavnar, when she was announced as the play-by-play voice of the Oakland Athletics. Now with Oakland in town, a return engagement. Jenny Cavnar back on Annie and Elsten. Jenny, Craig, and Annie here. Thanks so much. Hopefully you're enjoying your time in America's finest city once again.
Always good to be back, guys. Great to be on with you. And I don't know if I feel dumber or smarter for listening to how you won or lost that game.
Dumber. Wait,
Thank
smarter? We all feel dumber,
Smarter.
is what I'm trying to say, Jenny.
Yeah, that sounded, honestly, Craig, that sounded like the Chihuahuas Aviators game yesterday, where Las Vegas had the 14-1 lead, and then the Chihuahuas came back and beat them, 17-16 or something?
Yeah, you know, we're playing the bonus round from Family Feud. That's the game, and you can't match the answer. So when he got speeding,
gotcha.
I was done right then. I was toast. But that's fine. That's fine. Nonetheless, we persevere on. Jenny, I just tell me what surprised you so far in this gig and with your club so far this season.
Yeah, I think with the Oakland A's, like something that surprised probably the whole league is how competitive this team has been. The last 2 years, obviously not a great record. Last year, an awful record, really an awful year. They used a lot of players. They used a ton of pitchers. And when you look back to the start of the season, I know the Padres are sitting there floating around 500, and then the National League, that seems like that could get you in the postseason. But the Oakland A's got to 500 at 17-17 and get over the hump. They kind of strung together some wins. All of a sudden, the injury bug hit their starting rotation, who had been intact up until that point, and now it's almost a brand new starting five, minus J.P. Sears, who will pitch tomorrow in Game 2 against the Padres. So I think that's what's been surprising is how competitive this team has played. They feel like they're in it almost each and every night. They've played a lot of close 1-run, 2-run games. And I just like the fight. I love watching young kids be able to develop into major league players and watching that right in front of your eyes. And with a team like Oakland, with an organization like Oakland, there's always a lot of opportunity for that.
It's been really fun to watch them compete, Jenny. And, obviously there's been some noise around this organization with the relocation. And even if you look at, maybe the payroll is lower and everything like that, how has Mark Kotze been the leader for this team? Like, what have you seen from him in terms of keeping the focus where these players need to be and getting the most out of these players? Because it can be really hard, too, to manage a younger team, guys that don't have as much experience.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question, Annie. I look at Cox kind of coming from that cloth, that San Diego cloth that we all know so well, and I'll point to Bud Black, who he played for his final 2 years, and kind of really learning under Buddy. And I know he's really close with Bruce Bochy and his time that he played under Boch. And he's kind of come from that same cloth of being a great players manager. He's a really good communicator. And I think he's been able to raise the bar this year. I think a lot of the first 2 years of his managerial career with the Oakland A's was kid gloves, right? It was saying, okay, these are the cards we've been dealt. There's, for better, for worse, injuries, not a lot of experience. Like, let's just kind of figure some things out. And all of a sudden this year, having not covered this team before, I sensed it at spring training still, that he was a little bit more business. Like, the expectations have been set. Here's what I expect every day for you coming to the ballpark, for you competing, for you getting better. And now I also expect that we're going to try and win some series. And so I think that challenge to the players that had made their major league debuts last year or coming into their sophomore season, it was there. It was there for them. And so I also think, he's really good about being able to relate to players still when they're going through slumps or, when they're having a challenge in terms of playing time, or also being able to just kind of encourage them to stick on the right path and stay the course when they're trying to work something out, whether it's mechanical in their swing or for a pitcher and his development on the mound.
Talking with Jenny Cavnar, play-by-play voice of the Oakland Athletics, A's, and Padres at 6:40 right here on 97.3 The Fan later tonight. One natural byproduct of a team that has been a seller for years and years and years is that you're going to have some young players on the roster that maybe fans outside of the market aren't going to have much of an idea about, but players who wind up developing and finding their own path in the major leagues. I wanted to ask you about a couple of those guys, Jenny, starting with Brent Rooker, who we knew for like a minute here in San Diego before he was let go. But obviously last year, Brent Rooker had a breakout season, but this year hitting .270 on base percentage, over .350. It feels like Rooker has taken even another step forward.
Absolutely. Maybe a slower start to the year than he would have anticipated in April, coming off an all-star campaign like last year. You mentioned the 30 home runs. They saw the power. It was in there. What I think impressed me over really the surge that he had in the month of May was the power was still there in terms of home runs. And this is a team that you'll see this weekend that when they're going to score their runs, it'll be via the long ball. It's a team that scores about 51% of their runs by the home run. And Brent's right in the mix of that, having 13 this season. But he's also been able to, get the good line drives down and just take some professional at bats. The strikeout's still in there, but walking, you talked about the on-base percentage. That's going to be key to the Oakland Athletics no matter what. We've all seen the movie Moneyball. That was a clear idea of what came out of that. But I think for Brent, it's the approach. And honestly, it's the leadership, I think, inside that clubhouse. He doesn't have a ton of years of experience in this game, but being kind of an older guy with some of those younger hitters, I think he's able to kind of, talk them through some of those slumps that they're experiencing for the first time in their careers.
I'll bounce off of that. Mason Miller, your closer, 12 for 13 and save chances. I mean, he's been electric, right? When did you guys kind of realize what you had in Mason, and what have you seen from him, especially when the pressure's on for him?
Well, I think this team knew exactly what they had in Mason. He started a bit last year, and really they're trying to be mindful with his health and some health issues that he's had in the past. So putting him in the bullpen was probably the best way to utilize 102, 103 miles an hour. A very electric arm that you see, and, being able to put him in a leverage situation. Mason is one of those kids that, really almost reminds me of a Trevor Hoffman in terms of, demeanor. We know Trevor Hoffman outside of the ninth inning, and that was just cool, calm, collected, nice guy. And as soon as Hell's Bells would play at Petco, right, you saw a very different, determined human being on the mound. And Mason reminds me a lot of that, just a very nice gentle giant type person. And when he gets in there, there's something that switches in his eyes that you see. He is ready to absolutely slay. And that's what he's been doing. He's a filthy slider that complements his velocity. And I think he's also kind of had to go through that little adjustment period here the last couple of weeks. You know, the league found out about him really quick when he was striking out the best hitters in the game in the middle of every team's order in the ninth inning when he was coming in. But now, you know, bat speed can change and guys can kind of catch up a little bit. So he's gotten hit. He's got a couple home runs that he's allowed and, you know, the one blown save here in the last 10 days or so. But honestly, there's no other guy I'd rather want to see come in to save the day, come in, even in high leverage situations where they've used him, you know, whether it's in a tied game, a close game, tried to maybe even go 4 outs, 5 outs, 6 outs if needed. But again, going back to the health struggle, they have to monitor that. You don't often see him go back-to-back days. And if he's pitching more than 3 outs, you absolutely will not see him the next day. So there's that load management with him, but I hope you guys get to see him live and in person because it's fun. I guarantee you the San Diego Padres do not want to see him live and in person.
Yeah, I'd go ahead and watch that on like
Pitching Ninja or
maybe
something.
this weekend's games. I wouldn't mind seeing him in this weekend's games. Maybe not tomorrow or today. But along those lines, Jenny, beyond Mason Miller, I'm just opening up your BREF page here, and I know Lucas Erceg is on the injured list right now, but I'm looking at 5-6 different relievers with ERAs under 4, guys with ERAs even under 3. How maybe surprising, or maybe it was expected, has it been for Oakland to be able to lock down games when you have a lead halfway through?
Yeah, I think that's it. Even goes back to my conversation with you about competitive games. There's kind of a mix of 4 or 5 pitchers that are ready to roll from the, midway through the 6th inning on if needed for situational outs and then high leverage outs. And it's fun to watch that group compete. And I think they feed off of each other. And there's a couple of veterans in that mix. I know you guys know one in Austin Adams, who spent some time here in San Diego. He's found a nice niche in the 7th inning. They've even moved him up as, some of these injuries have popped up. TJ McFarland's another one, a tough lefty who's able to induce ground balls, get the double play when needed. And then, I think Lucas is on this trip and he might be back. I don't know that he'll be back this weekend necessarily, but hoping he gets back soon because he's not only a great human being, he has a phenomenal story of just, triumph and having to overcome some obstacles in his life. And he and Mason have matched up so nicely on the back end of that bullpen.
Jenny, the starter for tonight, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, Joey Estes, 22 years old, making his 8th big league appearance tonight. What have you seen? What has stood out from him as he's getting his feet under him here in the big leagues?
I love Joey. This kid is full of energy, and it is so palpable how he loves to compete. I mean, he almost has that kind of bulldog mentality when he's on the hill, and we just saw it in his most recent outing when he took a perfect game into the 7th inning against Seattle last week. And I think it's just his thirst and hunger to go after every single batter. When you kind of dive into his stats and dig in a little bit deeper, I think something that, has bit him a bit when it's popped up this year. And again, such a young sample size, right? When you're talking about his 8th major league start coming up, just having had the 2 last year, and then getting in the rotation this year with injury, is the fly ball. He hasn't had a high percentage of ground ball rate, and it's, I think sometimes that can creep up where the home run can hurt a pitcher like Joey, but honestly, I would take him any 5th day. 22, so young. I'm not going to go all Jake Peavy on you. It's definitely not like that, but very similar in terms of like that personality to compete. You cannot substitute that. For some of these pitchers, especially young, and sometimes being young and naive in this game can be your best asset when you're just starting out.
Yeah, the numbers are impressive on
So
Joey
true.
Estes. FIP of 304, whip under 1. So he's been very, very impressive. Jenny, just kind of wrapping up and looking at another guy, but going a slightly different direction. Last year, I don't know if I won my fantasy playoff or at least got into it thanks to picking up Zach Geloff around the All-Star break or a little bit after, because he came up and just whammed home runs for the A's. I don't want to say came out of nowhere, came out of the minors, but just had a dynamite breakout season at age 23 for Oakland last year. Gets installed as your everyday second baseman this year. It's not been the same. 183 average, 556 OPS, only 5 home runs. What have you seen from Zach Geloff this season?
Yeah, I think for Zach, I saw pressure early in the year. You know, to your point, when you have a 69-game sample size last season and your numbers project to the potential of you having, you know, a 30-30 year, that's kind of a lot of pressure going in when there's, you know, not a lot of big-name guys coming back. And he was kind of dubbed the guy, the future for this team. And so I think coming in, there was just pressure from the core of the young guys that all got called up together last year. And that translated in the month of April to a lot of errors, and that's something that this group wasn't used to doing on the defensive end. And so those errors kind of just spiraled, and I think it led to some offensive slumps for them. But for Zach, I think when he's able to kind of like take that deep breath, weight of the world, weight of this organization off of him, he's a really good player. And I really, really like, you know, when he's in the zone, his at-bats, his approach, being able to drive the ball. And I think the home runs will come for him. He's kind of experienced, I think he has a bit of a stomach bug that kept him out of the lineup yesterday. But I just think it's hard when these guys are making contact, they're getting the hard hit rate. I haven't looked at his BABIP lately or some of those extra analytics that really project what he should be doing. But it felt like there was a 2-week sample size where he was crushing the baseball. Last road trip, we were in Tampa, and it looked like he had the go-ahead homer in the making, and Jose Siri just robbed him. And it was just a frustrating turn of events like that for Zach. But he finally got a couple of homers here in the last week, and I think that bat will roll eventually. It's just kind of been an up and down year. He had to deal with the injured list a little bit as well. So I think once he's like fully healthy, getting in, finding a way to get in the zone and not put all that pressure on himself, he'll be a much better player for it.
Jenny, you're no stranger to San Diego, having worked here for a chunk of your career and then returning with the Rockies for so many years. We heard the trolley sounded like around you at some point.
Oh, yeah, guys.
Is there
sitting outside.
We love the sounds of San Diego. So that is just that, you know, what we're wondering, is there anywhere that you would like to hit up while you're in town here? Because it's pretty short and, you know, you have a lot of work to do, but is there anywhere you try to get to?
Oh, it's so hard. I mean, I would love, I just try to check in with people that still live here. We still have some really good friends that live here. I feel like some of my favorite restaurants closed during the pandemic, which is so sad, but just walking around, like the June gloom finally burned off. The sun is out downtown. It's beautiful. So I've just been walking around and checking everything out. I'm not going to lie. I thought about going to Nunu's last night, but I did not. I did not hit up the old local bar in the neighborhood. So shout out to my fellow Nunuers out there.
I love it. Thanks, Jenny.
Jenny, it's so great to hear your voice as always. Hopefully the season is going good for you, getting a few more wins than you were counting on broadcasting. That's really exciting. And we look forward to catching up with you down the road. But as you know from us, just all the absolute best to you going forward.
You guys are the best. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Jenny Cavnar, voice of the A's, television voice. Great to see. Great to see her having success, getting through it.
Knows her stuff. Fun to talk ball with her always. And, you know, look, it's. I think a lot of times, too, when you have a team like that with the A's, your manager obviously plays a big part in your coaching staff, because that's a team that you expect there to be errors. They're guys that don't have a ton of experience in the big leagues. That's something where the Padres, look, you know, you're trying to take advantage of that. You're trying to take advantage of a team. This is one where you'd probably see them trying to make guys make plays, because it's a team that's still trying to find its way a little bit. And credit to Mark Kotsay for righting the ship during with all the noise surrounding them in terms of relocation and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny if we had a couple more minutes, the next thing or the last thing I would have asked is like, Jenny doesn't want to answer this, though. Like, who are the A's going to trade this year? Because it's kind of wild. Like, do you really trade Mason Miller? I mean, obviously you'd get a lot for him. You don't really need a closer on a fourth-place team, but he's young, he's dynamic, he's probably the only exciting thing for A's fans. Oh, wait. Is there such a thing as A's fans? Does that even matter? Is that even a part of the equation anymore? Do they care what Sacramentoians, I don't even know how to say that, denizens of the city of Sacramento think? Are they worried about what Vegas people think? Like, Who cares about the A's now? Do the A's care about the A's? These are weird questions.
Yeah, and it'd be tough to ask her those because she's part of the organization, and not that she would obviously want to be fair to everybody, but I think those are absolutely those are questions that are surrounding this organization and surrounding the players, and every time the players come to a ballpark, they're probably asked that by the opposing beat writers and trying to do a story on it and everything like that. So I can only imagine, just like with the Chargers, that was always the questions. After games, it would come from people who were dropping in to ask about this, or from local writers who were following up on this. And a lot of it surrounds relocation and, like you said, trades and what's going to happen when this happens and what's going to happen when that happens. And those are hard to answer. They're exhausting.
It's pretty much the A's life, right? Exhausting questions like what's this and what's that. But Jenny doing a great job. We appreciate her very much. And thanks for giving us a preview of the Padres and the Oakland Athletics right there. Thank you so much. Just looking at the series matchups, by the way, Estes tonight. I mean, really good, really good. Fewer hits than innings pitched, only 6 walks to 25 strikeouts. He's got a 4.67 ERA that literally looks like a couple of bombs he gave up.
Totally. And the flip side of having a maybe less experienced team is she's right. You have a bunch of hungry, competitive guys who are trying to make a name for themselves in the big leagues, trying to build their careers. And you're also playing with nothing to lose, you know? So you're playing pretty free at this point, right? So I think all of those, it should be, or maybe will be more competitive than is thought.
Well, these are the games and series that, however you want to say it, the 2024 Padres have not succeeded in.
And another team, another pitcher in Estes, who they haven't seen. Only Donovan Solano has history with Estes, and he went 0 for 3 with a strikeout.
And then tomorrow, the A's will throw their best young left-hander, J.P. Sears. And then according to the probables, they're going to be calling up a left-hander named Hogan Harris to start Wednesday's matinee against Mike King.
What a name, Hogan Harris.
That is a good name.
It's like a, what's the one where they get in the ring and it's all made up?
WWE.
Thank you. That's WWE. Hogan Harris.
Hogan Harris.
Yeah. Okay,
Hogan
anyways.
Hero.
Yeah, so that's your lefty, right?
Yeah, lefty, and Sears is a lefty. So.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I didn't. Yeah,
big,
you're right.
Big game tonight. Big game. I mean, again, you can take one side of this street and say, LOL, nothing matters, so no game matters, because at the end, there's going to be 81 wins and 81 losses, and it's just a matter of which one it is today. Or you can stay kind of more locked in and say, the Padres are in a stretch of 13. I remember I was talking about this at the beginning of it, Annie. The Padres are in a stretch of 13 consecutive games against teams with losing records. They're on game 8 of that 13-game stretch. They are 2-5. So far in the first 7 games against the lesser lights of the American and National League. So it is time to throw all that stuff out the window and treat every single team like they are the 2022 Braves or the 1998 Yankees or whatever the 2001 Mariners, whatever super team you want to put up there. Like, that's the attitude that this team has to have when they come into these games.
There was a quote in the paper from Jake Cronenworth on Saturday night after they won. The approach that we were doing wasn't going to be fine, Jake said. We went into Friday's game with an emphasis on today is the most important game. And over the last 2 days, we've shown that. Now, that's great, but it kind of tells you that they needed to focus that. They needed to change their focus a little bit. And so now it's kind of let's for them it's going to be let's keep that rolling.
That's really interesting because that's the second Jake focus related quote from last week.
And thank you, Jake. I love that he's saying that. There's another gear for us. We need to make sure that we're focused for these games. And then he said this after the win over Arizona that we knew, we came in and we said, the way we're doing it is not working. We need to change, And so credit to them. They were able to get those wins on Friday and Saturday. And now they have a chance to do that against a team that they have historically had problems against with losing records, keeping that focus alive.
And I would even explain away, I would go under the rubric of that and explain away Sunday's game because they got blown out in the first 2 innings. So it's not a focus matter. It's a matter of you're down 7. So
you're starting
whatever.
pitcher, right? I mean, that's nothing even against Major. He's gonna have growing pains. That's his second start ever in the big leagues. So you expect that.
Absolutely. When we come back, we'll hit reset on a couple of the topics from earlier in the show, and I will explain why my hat changed if you're watching on YouTube, and why it's gotten me unnaturally excited for tonight's game as well. So stay right here with us. Andy and Elsten rolling until 2 o'clock. Gwen and Chris check in right then. Don't go anywhere on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. All right, well, now I'm excited. Fired up. Absolutely fired up. Welcome back. Annie and Elsten, 1:31 is the time. 2 segments left of the show. Want to say a big time thank you to Zach Rask. Just met him about a half an hour ago. Social media, it's got its ups and downs, but sometimes it can be pretty cool, right? For example, Twitter's undefeated for funnies.
Yeah. There are days that I'll look at Twitter and I'll be like, you know what? That was hilarious.
Exactly.
Or like a feel-good thing.
Yeah.
A puppy and
a
baby.
Inspirational story,
Right.
something along those lines. Sometimes it's about making connections and people coming together. So if you remember, back to the previous 5-game losing streak, before last week's 5-game losing streak, we were taking calls and we were asking folks for their thoughts on the Padres. And one of our callers called in and said that the reason the Padres were struggling was because they weren't eating enough avocado, at which point we accepted that as a bit. It was kind of the first Annie and Elsten show bit where we were like, okay, everybody eat avocados. We got to eat avocados. And then the team did a lot better, right? They won 4 in a row. Coming right off the avocados, and they didn't lose a series for a while. So we kept up the avocado train for 2 weeks, right? Somewhere in there.
Yeah, there were some wins. There were some losses that were justified as having not to have had anything to do with the avocado. So the avocado kept avocadoing.
It kept avocadoing. And then, at some point we got swept or lost, and we said, that's it. Mm-hmm. We're off the avocado. Not that you should.
It might have been the Rockies sweep
yeah,
or
it
something.
might have been. At some point, we were like, listen, keep eating avocados because they're a healthy fat and a wonderful fruit. But it's no longer a requirement before games to ensure victories. But now, Avocado Act 2, because Zach, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it for yourself. Zach apparently went to a Foot Locker randomly and saw this hat, which is a yellow Padres hat with an avocado green Padres sigil.
It's essentially the Athletics.
Yeah, it's kind of the A's colors.
Yes.
Except more avocado green than Kelly green.
Yeah, true.
And it's got San Diego Padres with an avocado right in the middle.
Now, I thought that he made this or has some kind of hat company or whatever, I don't know, that made this. So now I have so many questions. Why does this hat exist in stores? Why is there an avocado hat?
Why does this hat exist? For me is the only thing I could think of.
I don't think so.
It was made for me. We've got so if you're watching on YouTube, we've got the avocado logo, San Diego Padres. On the other side, we've got an avocado green swinging fryer.
And as Braden noted, it's a new fryer, it's the new logo, right Braden?
Then on the back, we've got
the fryer on the side is one of the newer ones.
On the back, we've got a green San Diego right there.
So someone somewhere was like, let's make a yellow and green avocado hat to sell in stores just 'cause?
They thought this was going to be a big seller. Little did they know there was one person in San Diego who wanted this hat. And now I've got it. So mission accomplished is what I've got to say. Mission accomplished. Hat's on my head. We're set.
I've literally never seen anyone else in this hat.
So now I am going to tonight's game. I'm sitting in my season seats.
Gonna look like you're wearing a half. You're gonna look like the people who were in London with the Phillies and the Mets.
The half Phillies, half Mets stuff.
You're going to look like you're going for the A's and the Padres, but really you're just a fan of avocado.
I'm just a fan of the Padres and avocado. Those are the two things that I love. I love the Padres and avocado, and I'm all out of avocado.
Carlos in the chat says, was it extra for the avocado?
Yes, it was. $275 more. You could have the hat
it's
for $275
now
more. Yeah.
for avocado.
You got the avocado. Would you like this hat? For $4 more, you can have it with avocado. Okay.
I'm sorry. Sounds good.
Delicious. Any spicy pico? What else do you have? So now I've got this, and now I'm going to wear. I'm going to wear the dabbing avocado. So now I know what I'm going to wear. I'm going to wear the dabbing avocado.
Okay.
T-shirt.
Wow.
With the avocado hat.
You don't feel like it's going to be too much avocado?
How can you have too much avocado? That's just called. That's not called too much. That's called extra avocado.
That's a clown comment, Annie. Yeah. Too much avocado.
There's never too much avocado. So I'm gonna wear the dabbing avocado shirt. I'm wearing
course you
this
are.
hat, and I'll just wear a regular home pinstripe jersey on top of that. But
Oh, he's doing this.
okay.
that's what I'm gonna wear tonight. So if
I
you're looking
wouldn't
for
put
me,
the pinstripe
that's
jersey
me.
on. I would just go full on avocado.
I don't have an avocado jersey.
No, but like, why hide the shirt? You know?
Well, the front is going to show the avo.
Okay,
I'm not going to button it up.
Okay.
Yeah, just have it loose over the shoulders. You know.
Very stylish.
Very stylish.
Yes.
Very stylish.
Hey, what was his name?
Zach.
Zach. It was very nice. I thought Zach was like a worker of some sort.
No,
Like he was.
He just showed up
He's
with
just
my
a fan.
hat.
That was very nice of him.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm Zach's biggest fan right now. There's no doubt about it. At the very least, I could follow you on Twitter, Zach. Boom! You just got to follow from me, pal.
Wow.
From 85 to 86. There we go. Right there.
I'm looking.
Wow.
Nailed it. Nailed it. So super excited about that. Thank you very much, Zach. Appreciate you, mate. Appreciate you very much. What? I'm sorry. I was reading I got mixed up by the chat. Okay.
It's just I don't know. I just Googled it. I thought maybe I could find the story about it, but I don't even see it come up on the web. You know?
Padres avocado hat.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't see it. Anyways, but it is cool.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I found an
Thanks,
avocado
Zach.
luchador hat.
Really?
Yeah. Oh wait, no. There's a I found a Padres one too. Here's the men's avocados luchadors. They down East New Era white and aqua hat. Look at this. Look at this thing. This is a hat right here. This has Craig's name written all over it. Look at that guy.
Wow. A muscular avocado.
A muscular
So-
avocado,
yeah.
and his pit is a baseball, and he's got a bat behind his back, and he's also a luchador.
He's like a menacing. Right. He's a luchador. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I want that hat.
It can be yours for $41.99.
For $41.99.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On MLBshop.com.
Okay. Well, you know.
How about it?
Next pay period.
Now,
Grab that.
I do see something from 2023. Okay. San Diego Padres names Del Rey Avocado as official avocado supplier. Perhaps this came about when that happened. I don't know.
I found the. Oh no! I think I found one
Yeah?
that somebody like tweaked on the other one. Well, it's like that. You know those hats that they came out with, like those San Diego hat, like had like the 619 760 on it and stuff like that, and
Yes.
palm trees.
Yeah,
I think that one,
I hated that.
It looks just like that, the one you're wearing, except it's got an avocado on it. Yours does.
Huh.
Because it's the same thing on the back. They got the fryer on the side, they got the San Diego on the back, and somebody put an avocado on it instead of a taco.
However,
Tacos.
whenever, why ever,
Wow.
all that we need to know is that this exists. It's in the universe,
Now it's yours.
and I have it.
And now I need this
Neat.
avocado.
And what did you give Zach for that?
Mr. San Diego Avocado. I gave him a follow on Twitter. We took a selfie together, and we talked about him for a segment on the radio.
That's true.
That was my return payment. Zach, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. If anyone else would like to give me gifts, you know what you're going to get back. You're going to get a follow, a selfie, friendly chat, big smile.
I need this avocado luchador hat now.
I kind of do too.
That's kind of sick.
Yeah, that's not a bad one right there. That's a good one. All right. That just ended a segment. Sometimes things happen. And this is one of those things. Let's take a break. When we come back, it's time to Ask Us Anything. Always have a lot of fun. This segment's been getting better and better. It's as good as you make it, gang. 833-288-0973. We open the lines for you. 833-288-0973. We will take your calls for the next 10 minutes. So if you call between now and 1:50, we'll put you on hold and we'll get you on the air between here and 1:54:45 when we get out of here. So give us a ring, 833-288-0973. Only one controlling condition is that when you call, you ask us a question. And you got a question for us because it's Ask Us.
Anything.
You'll hear it next. Annie and Elsten on the Fan. 146 in the Fan. Final segment of Annie and Elsten. It is Ask Us Anything time. Your time to call the show has been reduced to 3.5 minutes. 833-288-0973. If you'd like to call in the next 3.5 minutes, 833-288-0973. We will take your call. We'll play the bumper and everything. But you got to call. So 833-288-0973.
I have to tell you, I closed my door on my thumb this morning before coming in.
Your car door?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, I sure did. And
Ouch.
It's like, when there's it's like
throbbing
blue underneath because it's like the blood or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's the throbbing has been nonstop.
Now what you gonna do about that?
What can you
Annie?
do about it?
Take an Advil?
I guess when I get home, I could take an Advil.
You can take an Advil.
Yeah.
Little ice.
Yeah. Maybe I'll ice it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have one of those? Do you have like one of those because my wife got these for my son when he was younger, like the kind of squishy things you freeze, so like it's got the little balls, and so like you could wrap that around your thumb.
I know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I have any of those in my freezer. I mostly have like ice rollers and things for your face and stuff. Your eyes, puffiness. But I think I could find some veggies at least to maybe put on
there
it.
you go.
Okay.
Yeah,
frozen veggies,
some peas and carrots, and so on and so forth. All right.
Just buy those not to ever consume them, but just have just in case of these situations.
Late update. Annie's thumb hurts, and I've got a new hat. So. Things
That's
are happening.
where we're at
Things
on
are
a
great.
Monday.
Things are great.
Things are happening.
Slow news day, huh?
In the studio. Let's play the bumper now. Let's do it. We offered you the challenge to call in the next 3 minutes, and we've got callers. Here's John in San Diego. John, good afternoon to you. Welcome to Annie and Elsten. Ask us anything.
Well, it's another rough day in paradise, right? This is gonna be real. This is gonna be real simple. Craig, you absolutely love all the statistics down to the micro minutia. They drive me crazy. But how did you not wind up being an accountant or working with like numbers for some corporation? Because you seem to really, really, really love your numbers.
Yeah, because I'm really bad with the money numbers, John. Not good with the money numbers. Is it
the numbers that are related to baseball, or is it numbers in general?
It's numbers related to baseball, man. It's like sports stats. It could also be basketball numbers or
gets them all riled up.
Hockey numbers, soccer XG, anything you want. Yeah, I just love the ability for something to explain what we see. Beyond mysticism. I'm a big fan of science.
I'm a big fan of mystery.
As a novel or a movie,
I agree.
I hear you, John.
Too much for my head will spin.
Well, see, so I hope, John, that in our 11 a.m. deep dives and whatnot, that we make it digestible for you, that we take the information and process it in a way that it helps you build your understanding of what's going on with the team.
Well, I go by my eyes, man. I'm like Ello. I'm old man, old school. I'm all eyeball test on everything.
Hey, you know what? I think the synthesis of them both is what matters. I'm not all numbers. I'll tell you that, man. I'll tell you that right now.
Sure.
I think the eye test is critical. I think it's absolutely critical. I think a scout's eye is critical.
Yeah. You got to have good eyes.
You really do. John, thanks for calling, buddy. Have a great rest of your day.
Take it easy.
You bet.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John. Let's just see who this is. This is San Diego calling from California.
I could check real quick.
That's all right. Who cares? We got a minute. Hi, who's this? Welcome to Annie and Elsten. Ask us anything.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Who are you?
My name's Rick, calling from Santee.
What's up, Rick and Santee? You're on with Annie and Elsten. You're on the radio. Ask us anything, buddy.
Hey. Sure. First of all, I just want to say thank you guys for your program. I like your delivery as far as it's a lifestyle for you, but you don't take it too seriously as far as from a fan perspective, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, man.
My question is, I was listening to you earlier, talking about the minor league team with the guy hit a three-run home run.
Yeah.
In the bottom of the inning. Now, if it was, I don't understand the ruling on that. I mean, if it was a 4-2 game, how does that? If it was a 3-run homer and the guy who hit it didn't touch third base, none of the runs count? Or I don't understand that ruling.
It's a great question, Rick. And actually, I think Braden figured this out during the break, which was that it was the second run, the runner who was on first base. So there was a runner on third. That runner wouldn't have had to retouch the bag, but the runner on first would have to touch second, third, and home, and it was the runner on first that missed the bag. So I don't know if literally they called it a 4-3 game and let the first run count, but as you know, when a third out is made and the runners are live, those runs don't count. It's only if an out is made after the runner touches. So, yeah, Matt Barron in the chat says it was the tying run that failed to touch. So basically that 3-run homer counted for 1, and then they lost.
So if it had been the batter who missed third base, would it have been a 4-4 game?
It would have been a tie.
Yeah.
It would have been a tie.
Okay.
That's exactly right. Wild, isn't it?
All right.
You got it, brother.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you for calling. Look at that. You know, we're having more and more fun every day with Ask Us Anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And those were good questions.
Those were really
because
good
we were trying to figure that out in the break too. Like, why didn't this count here or that count there? But yeah, it would have been a different outcome if it was the first runner or the third runner. It was a 3-run home run?
3-run homer, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. All he has got to touch all the bases. The guy in third's like, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
I took my lead. I jogged home. That's it.
Right.
I'm done.
Right.
It's your fault, runner on first. Focus. I still want to know who it was that caught it. That's what I really want to know. Who was it that caught it? How was it communicated?
It's going to go to their grave. Nobody's going to
Yeah,
say
I don't think we're going to find this out. We need to get someone from the missions to tell us, I guess.
Yeah.
Or
well, maybe
dissect it.
We'll give him a ring. Got a full 4-hour show tomorrow. seems like something I'd like to spend a little time doing. I'm deeply curious. I really am. Well, tomorrow we're going to have a lot of fun for you, including, of course, Game 1, Padres and A's. Have my report from 307. Are you going today?
Undetermined.
Fair
if I'll be
enough.
stopping by. Yeah.
My brother's going. I'm not. I got softball.
If nothing else, you'll have my report from up in the stands, which is great. And then we've got Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals tonight. Plenty of things happening. We can dunk on the Lakers again tomorrow if you'd like. Dan Hurley. God, you're clever.
Next up is going to be this feature on Dan Hurley and everything he's about to bring to and his new contract announced probably.
Yeah, 2 years from now it's going to be. Did you hehear how I used Woj to get this deal? All right, that's it for us. Special thanks to Jenny Cavnar for joining us.
Yes.
For Annie and Braden, I'm Chris.